Look, before we kick off, quick one for anyone who has said, right, this is the year, more times than they want to admit. New Year's resolutions, eh? Well, Power B is a full meal replacement shake exclusively from Nature B. It's not a snack. It's not a gimmick. It is an actual meal. It's the only shake in Australia with Nature B's Power Pollen built in, plus grass-fed whey protein and probiotics for gut health. Now, 2 shakes a day alongside a balanced diet and exercise, and it's as simple as that. Grab the intro pack for $39.95 at natureb.com. And if you grab a couple of the other goodies and spend over $79.90 before January 30, you go into the draw to win that fantastic $20,000 worth of luxury travel. Plus, if it's not for you, well, there's a 100% money-back guarantee. Follow the links in the description or head to natureb.com.
In a world where voices are silenced,
Please.
one man refuses to lie down.
It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done.
He's been punted not once,
40 years they've been trying.
not twice,
You couldn't fire somebody if they were horrible, doing a terrible job.
but 3 times.
You're fired.
He doesn't tell you what to think, but gives you something to think about. Welcome to the Bonafide podcast with Luke Boner. And he's not
All right, here we go.
done
Hold your ears, folks.
yet.
It's showtime.
Well, g'day and welcome to another Bonafide episode number 79.
Yes, and actually I'm pretty sure I've already got that wrong, but we're going to roll with it anyway. Luke, keep rolling.
Well, what was the last one?
Just keep rolling, okay?
We're on the road, Kelsey. We're going on a road trip.
Yes, we are. We are in Dubbo this weekend. We're getting Luke in a truck finally. And James Ward, the bloody legend that he is, drive.com.au, he got us an electric Kona to take on the trip. So thank you to James Ward. Thank you to Hyundai for trusting us with an electric Kona for the weekend. It's going to be very interesting to see Luke in an electric vehicle.
Well, no, it's not. Your mum's car's a hybrid. Look, I'm not worried about that. I just hope there's enough charging stations. I don't want destination anxiety. But for the weekend, we will review it and we'll let you know honestly what we think of this Kona. It's a Hyundai Kona. In fact, it's a Boner Kona this weekend.
Oh, God, I knew something ridiculous was going to come.
So we'll let you know all about it.
If you want to back the show, you can join our Facebook subscriber page, the Bonafide Podcast Club, for a bit of extra content, or just keep doing what you're doing. Tell a mate, hit like, subscribe. It all helps and we appreciate all of it.
Yes.
So,
and if you for very special people like our OnlyFans sponsors, it could be, if we do it naked, we could be the podcast.
absolutely not. Don't even put that into the universe. We're not going down that road. We're just not going down that road.
The OnlyFans thing, what is that?
You know, it's exclusive, usually X-rated content.
It is X-rated.
Usually. I mean, some people just go in there and sell like feet pics.
What?
Look, like Scotty Phillips says, if there's a market for it, you can make money from it.
So people pay money to look at other people's feet.
You can sell whatever you want to do. OnlyFans is just a platform.
Why don't you put your feet on there?
It's my backup plan. Backup plan.
I'll get Nikki to put her feet on there. Have you seen her feet?
Oh, they're disgusting. She knows it as well.
Oh.
Gremlin feet, little gremlin feet.
But people might pay for that. Why don't we put
They might like it. It could be a weird fetish.
Well, why don't we open an OnlyFans Nikki's feet page and see if we can't earn some money?
Mum would be absolutely mortified
she might do
by
it.
this. No, absolutely not.
Coming up, we're going to look at the scientific background to ghosts. Is there any scientific proof that the supernatural is really there? We're going to talk to Dr. Karl. I'm looking forward to that. We'll also go motoring with James Ward. Senator David Shoebridge from the Greens joins us. We're going to have a look under his bonnet and see what makes him tick. And the Man Cave, special guest Scotty Phillips. And an experiment for the first time, we're going to try and muddle the millennial. So all that and a whole lot more coming up.
We love the news. Something to think about, something to laugh about. We're talking news.
Can you believe it? The Winter Olympics are here and the flag bearers have been chosen to lead the best Australian team ever. They always say that.
Well, with the Winter Olympics, I feel like you can get away with saying with the Winter Olympics because, Australia isn't a super wintry place. So we might actually have the best team in history.
It is in winter. We've got the snowy mountains. Come on.
Yeah.
Doesn't really. It sort of pales into insignificance compared to the Alps.
Yes.
And the rest of the world in the Northern Hemisphere that have very high mountains.
Yes.
But look at Jamaica. Look at the bobsleds from Jamaica.
I know. That's one of Nathan's
Runnings
movies.
with John Candy.
Cool Runnings. Yeah, great movie. But the Winter Olympics, they are kicking off this Saturday morning our time. I'm so excited for this because I love the ice skating.
Yeah.
It is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And we didn't actually say it, but the flag bearers are going to be Jakara Anthony and 4-time Olympian Matt Graham. They are going to be the flag bearers. And I cannot wait. There's actually a great program that's running on, I think it's 9 after maths, that's kind of looking into the Olympic team. And oh my gosh, you have to be an absolute daredevil to be in winter sports. Some of the injuries, all sports are like this, but like in particular, when you look at the ski jumping and they're doing backflips on like gigantic mountains, it is absolutely insane.
A lot of them learn on trampolines first.
Yeah.
To get their backflipping done. You remember Eddie the Eagle from Great Britain who came last? Absolutely hopeless, but he embraced his hopelessness. And then we had remember Stephen Bradbury?
Oh, love Stephen Bradbury. On that program that I was talking about, I can't remember the name, they were talking to Stephen Bradbury and something that I didn't realise, I think we knew this, but he had like absolutely dominated that sport in Australia for more than a decade before he won the Olympic gold. And just before he won the Olympic gold, he had 2 major injuries. I think one was like a skate run over his leg when he was in a race. And he also had some other injury just before he won that gold. So he said it before, but I think he deserves that gold 100,000%. He worked so hard for that.
He was in the final. And to be in an Olympic final, you have to be amongst the best in the world. But look, he is famous for beating everybody that fell over and winning the gold.
It's in the dictionary.
I know. You do a Bradbury, you come from behind and you win. It was the 2002 Winter Olympics. It was the men's 1,000 metres. And he's now the accidental hero. He wrote a book called Last Man Standing, which I love. And Kelsey, we need to get Stephen Bradbury on the podcast because
I would love it. He seems like a good guy as well. He just seems like a good bloke.
And he's embraced what he's achieved.
Yeah.
Why can't Ray Gunn do that?
We're not getting into Ray Gunn. We don't have enough time.
Ray Gunn, look at Stephen Bradbury. But don't bring back breakdancing at the next Olympics, please. They're talking about it. No. News that's dominating international news at the moment is the newly released Jeffrey Epstein files. God, this just goes on and on and on. 3 million pages worth of shit.
And would you believe that's not even all of it? They still have more files that they haven't released yet. But of course, Trump has come out and he has said, this totally vindicates me. But there is some really crazy stuff even in these files. So I'll just quickly run you through some of them, Luke. So Epstein lawyers, they discussed the possibility of cooperation just days before Epstein's death. So we know Epstein died in jail in 2019, and the files show that his attorney met with Manhattan federal prosecutors and discussed Epstein's potential cooperation. So is that just a coincidence that he hung himself just a couple of days later? It's all seeming very suspicious. There's, of course, lots of allegations about Trump, and the FBI had actually received lots of allegations about Trump. They compiled, a report of more than a dozen tips received by the agency involving Trump and Epstein. I think the funniest thing, Luke, to come out of these Epstein files has been Elon Musk. So Elon Musk has kind of always said, he had very limited communication with Epstein. They were exchanging cordial messages, and on 2 separate occasions in 2012 and 2013, the two were making plans for Musk to visit Epstein's private islands, and the communication suggested that the trips did not occur due to logistical issues. And it's really funny because in the way that Elon Musk has kind of worded some of these emails, it kind of seems like, please let me come to your island. I promise I'm fun and cool.
Yeah.
Even
It's
Epstein
pathetic,
was a bit cringy at Musk. So,
but what about Sarah Ferguson? And, this is after he was convicted. After he was convicted, staying in touch with him, discussing allegedly one of her daughters' sex lives with him, saying, you're like the brother I never had, and why don't you just marry me? I mean, this was after he was convicted. Jesus. And what about Trump threatening to sue that South African comedian Trevor Noah, who told a joke when he hosted the Grammy Awards?
Yeah, no.
What did he say? Something along the lines of Trump wants Greenland, which makes sense because Epstein's island is gone. He needs a new one to hang out with Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
So Trump, who's as litigious as anything, he threatens to be, I don't know if he can actually win a defamation case. I think this is all talk.
No, he can't.
I don't know if he can.
And this kind of goes back to our conversation about free speech. Everybody's concerned about free speech until it comes to an opposing view using their quote unquote free speech to degrade or belittle somebody else, So if we allow it to happen on one side, we have to allow it on all sides, right?
Yeah, but can Trump prove that he was, one, defamed, but two, there are 5 major points when you defame, and one of them is that it's cost you financially. I don't think it's cost Trump financially. And he never actually said he was on Epstein's island. He said he'll have to find a new island. That's semantics, I know, but I don't know if it's going to hold up in court. I bet you it doesn't go anywhere.
No, of course it's not. Trump likes to make a lot of noise. And speaking
Richard Branson. What about Richard Branson?
Yeah, Richard Branson.
And the battle continues. The nightmare continues for the man formerly known as Prince, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, who's been kicked out. He's been kicked out of his home, but he's been moved into another royally owned luxury accommodation. Jeez.
Well, I read this morning he moved out of that as well.
He's gone, has he?
Yeah, he's gone. He's out. So yes, of course, there's more photos of Andrew Mountbatten Windsor in these files. He was also shown inviting Epstein to Buckingham Palace. Crazy. Richard Branson, there's email exchanges from 2013 between Branson, the British billionaire and founder of the Virgin Group, and Epstein. Branson wrote to Epstein, "It was really nice seeing you yesterday," and added, "Anytime you're in the area, I'd love to see you as long as you bring your harem." Weird stuff. And interesting, Luke, Brett Ratner, you probably don't know, he has been kind of named in these files. He's the filmmaker.
Yeah, who directed the Melania Trump disaster documentary, and he's involved as well.
Yeah, there was a newly released photo that shows Ratner sitting on a sofa hugging a woman next to Epstein, who is sitting with another woman. Both women's faces have been redacted, and it's kind of said in the paperwork that faces that have been redacted are victims or potential victims. Not surprising that this is the director of Melania Trump's documentary.
God, that's a funny old world, isn't it?
I know. And I just think it's insane that we literally have all this evidence right in front of us.
That's America. That's America. And is it true that Trump shit himself on television? What's the story? Did he?
I only put this in here, right, because it's a Friday, right? I will start this off by saying, obviously, there is no solid proof that this happened. I don't know how you would ever get proof.
What do you want,
that
DNA testing?
Verifies this.
You want forensic DNA testing of the seat he was sitting on?
Well, it's not like anyone in his advisory is going to be taking photos, or maybe they will. But a couple of days ago, there was a live press conference, and Trump and a bunch of other people, they gathered at the White House to talk about this Great American Recovery Initiative. And I'm going to play this video for you, Luke. I'll put it in the description of this episode so you guys can watch it if you want. But I want you, when the guy talking says the word faster, that's when you got to listen. I'll play it a couple of times. And Luke, you also have to look at the lady in green's reaction. Now, the reason why this caught people's attention is because everybody was rushed out of this press conference immediately, which is unusual. So let me play the video, Luke, and let's see what you think about it.
A new opioid that's showing up, and we're working with the DOJ on addressing that because chemists are coming up with new opioids faster than the government has been able to keep up. We're going proactive on these new chemicals.
That's great. No, I hear fantastic things. Thank you all very much. We really appreciate it a lot.
Okay, now I'm going to play that again, Luke, and I'm going to turn it up.
Chemists are coming up with new opioids faster than the government has been able to keep up. We're going proactive on these new chemicals.
That's great.
I'll do it again.
Opioids faster than the government has been able to keep up. We're going proactive on these new chemicals.
That's great.
Oh, and then the girl in the
I hear
green over his
fantastic
right
things.
shoulder looks down.
Thank you all very much. We really appreciate it a lot.
holds her
Thank
nose.
you, Oz.
Holds her nose.
Fantastic job.
She looks very
Thank you all
uncomfortable.
much.
Oh, dear, oh, dear.
Did he shart? Did he fart? Did he
fart and then
Is
follow
it-
through? I'd say the puppy dog's nose is definitely poking out of the kennel at that point.
Yeah, people have isolated the audio and, turned it up because the mic is mainly on Trump, right? So any sound like that is coming from Trump because that's where the mic is.
Folks, rewind it and turn your volume up. Tell us what you think. Was that what we call a Trump dump? Have you ever lost it in public? What's your story? Do we go down this path?
If it's funny.
Yeah. Tell us your story. Now, it's time for your say.
So, Luke, we posted a clip on socials the other day and it was from your chat with Rod Hannafy. And I don't know if you remember this. Rod Hannafy was telling us about another truckie that had called him up and told him that he'd been in an accident. One of the trailers had flipped over. So he knew he was waiting on the side of the road. He knew he was going to be there for, 3 or 4 hours waiting for the tow truck driver. While he was waiting, he decided to have a beer because he had a beer in the back of his truck and he knew he was going to be waiting there for a really long time. And he was shaken up from the accident. So he thought, I'll just sit on the side of the road and just, wait. The police showed up and said, I can smell beer on you. And he explained that, I'm just, having a beer while I wait. And the cops, long story short, charged him because he was still in possession of a motor vehicle. And Rod said, do people out there know about this? And some interesting comments came in, Luke.
Yeah. There was one from Cliff who said, I was at a party where police were called due to noise. It was all sorted, but my car was half out the gate across the footpath. Cop says, who owns this blue car? It's an obstruction. I said, mine. And she said, you'll have to move it. I said, no, I won't. I've had some beer. You move it. Handed her the keys and she carefully backed out and parked it across the road. Always be aware that you are responsible. But then what about this from Stephen? Stephen says he's heard a similar story about a person who was at the pub for a while, knew he was too drunk to drive, so he decided to walk. And on the way home, police asked him questions. They said, why are you out? And he said, well, I've had too much to drink, I can't drive. And they said, do you have your keys on you? And he said, yes. They charged him for drink driving. I don't believe that.
That's so rude.
No, I don't believe that's
Luke,
happened.
After reading the comment section, I believe it because there are so many comments on this post from people saying very similar stories, just in different situations.
If you're walking home, it's an offence to leave your keys in the car and leave your car unlocked.
No, it is an offence, Luke, and people actually started commenting the actual legislation that says this. If you have your keys on you, even though your car is parked, you are still technically in control of that motor vehicle. So if you are going to walk home after drinking, you have to leave the keys in the car. You cannot have the keys on
to
your
leave
possession.
your car unlocked is an offence.
Well, you can't have the keys on you either.
No, let's talk to someone. No. I had a lady ring me up on Triple M once and she got done for drink driving and she didn't drive. She was in the car park of the hotel and she reclined her seat and went to bed. The police came up and knocked on the window and because she had her keys on her, she got charged. Engine was off. She's parked. She's put her seat back. She's clearly sleeping. And they said you should have put your keys on the floor of the car. No way in the world. I don't believe that. Any experts out there? Let's get a lawyer on the phone.
Yeah. Well, it does raise an interesting question about, truck drivers that are spending, weeks at a time on the road. Their truck is their home. can you just not have any alcohol in your truck at all at any time because you're always going to have your keys on you? So does that mean you're always in control of a motor vehicle and you can be charged if a cop feels like it? But an interesting comment from Arthur here. He says, back in the good old days as an interstate driver before drunk driving laws, we could pull up on a stinking hot day, and don't forget we didn't have air conditioning back then, and stop at a pub and sit down for a real counter lunch and a few beers and actually enjoy life like everyone else. But now we are totally treated like criminals for any minor breaches. But office workers can enjoy having a beer at lunch and work 12 hours a day and drive home. Amazing how discrimination works. So interesting comments all round.
You're a bit too young to remember the counter lunch, but when I first started working at 16, everyone used to go to the Criterion Hotel across the road in Liverpool Street, and they'd have a pie or a T-bone and 4 or 5 schooners and then go back to work.
Yeah.
So
those days are gone. Now, Luke, I'm adding something into this section because I saw this clip on socials from another podcast called Shits and Gigs, and I had to bring it here. Now, they're discussing creepy facts about the human body you wish you never found out. It was a thread originally posted on Reddit. I'm going to run them past you here to get your reaction. And some of them, like, you might already know, but I think they're still pretty creepy. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Number 1, our skeletons are wet. Have you ever thought about that before?
Of course they are. They're on the inside.
I've never thought about it though.
Yeah, how could that be dry? They're on the inside.
I know, but when you see skeletons, you always see them outside the body. It's never crossed my mind that skeletons are wet. Okay, number 2.
Yeah. So this is kind of like a compilation of thoughts for the day.
Kinda.
I don't need to do a thought for the day.
Number 2, your nose is always in your line of sight, but your brain ignores it.
So you can see your nose, but we don't see it because our brain ignores it.
But if you want, like your nose is always there. Your eyes can always see your nose, but our brain just chooses to ignore it.
Huh.
Here's one. When you receive a donated kidney,
Yeah.
they don't take out the bad one. They just put the new one in.
Well, they leave the old one in there to rot.
They leave the old one in there.
I didn't know that.
I know. Neither did I.
Give me some more. Give me some more.
That's weird, right? Okay. Your immune system doesn't know it has eyes. Otherwise, it would attack them and make you blind. Injuring one eye can introduce eye bits to the bloodstream and basically give your immune system the knowledge of having eyes. Then it might decide it really hates them and attack your non-injured eye. How crazy is that? Your immune system does not know that you have eyes.
Give me one more.
The quality of male sperm is responsible for morning sickness, preeclampsia, baby gender, and almost every single pregnancy-related issue.
Yeah, because without male sperm, you wouldn't get pregnant.
Yeah, but you're also the quality of it.
Oh, the quality,
it will determine how good the pregnancy is.
Yeah.
You breathe through one nostril at a time. We know this. The brain itself has.
What? No.
You breathe through one nostril
at a time. At the same time. You can breathe. You can block
because you're paying attention to it. You're paying attention to it. Your brain itself has no nerve ending, so it can't feel pain. That's why patients can be wide awake during brain surgery.
I did know that.
That's one we all know.
Yeah.
So the ringing you hear when you're in silence, when it's really silent, that ringing is your brain listening to its own nervous system. You are hearing yourself functioning.
Like Donald Trump did in the White House.
Exactly. And here's the last one. You will never experience your own death. You will only experience approaching it and then nothing. From your perspective, your story stops mid-sentence.
But is there life after death? Why don't we ask Dr. Karl? That's coming up.
Luke's on the desk, pushing wrong bloody knobs. Blames the glitch bitch instead of doing his job. Kels rolls her eyes, says, mate, just shut up. She runs this whole circus while he drinks from his cup. We're Bonafide and busted, but you legends stick around. Luke's chilly meltdowns and his bulletproof head sound. Rod's yelling about green reflectors, Bill's digging up the dead. And thank fuck for this mad mob who listen instead.
So, Kelsey, we've had a lot of chat on the podcast because of Adam McDonald going to the quarantine station at Manly and experiencing a ghost night. And we've had so much feedback from people saying, well, are ghosts real? Is there any scientific proof that the supernatural exists? Because it makes us all very, very nervous and scary. And look at all the movies that have been made about the supernatural and ghosts. So people out there, a lot of them believe that there is something after we die, and possibly it could be evil, possibly it could be good. And so, Kelsey, you suggested we go to our scientific expert, and that is Dr. Karl.
Yes. Surely there has to be some type of science, if that is true, as to how a non-living entity has the force to push a living thing. You know what I mean?
And seances and Ouija boards where the little glass thing moves around on its own and all of that. So is there any scientific background to ghosts and the supernatural actually existing? Dr. Karl is with us. I've got his book right here, Dr. Karl's A Periodic Tale. Dr. Karl Kruszenicki, welcome back to the Bonafide podcast.
Ahoy, and thank you so much, Dr. K and Dr. L, for having me back again.
Dr. Karl, we need to know, is there any scientific proof that there are ghosts, that there is a supernatural, and that there is, in fact, life after death?
Or are people just schizophrenic?
Well, hang on. You use the word schizophrenic. What does that mean?
It's a mental health condition in which people can, one of the symptoms is you can hear voices that aren't there or see figures that aren't there.
That one. Yeah, that is correct. So in the condition called schizophrenia, in some cases people can hear voices. That is true. Does it prove the voices are there? No. Remember the wonderful words of the Mythbusters. The difference between science and screwing around is you write it down. We have zero proof of life after death, ghosts, and these other extra-worldly emanations. Somebody falls down the stairs and says, I was pushed. Okay, and the proof that you were pushed as opposed to you just tripped? Right. I want to see it available to other people. It's not just, trust me, I saw it. I want to see proof that any person can come along and say, well, look at that. If you push the pencil off the table, it falls to the ground. There's some sort of force. I don't know. You call it gravity, do you? Well, but anyway, I want something of that level of reproducibility, and instead we always have anecdotes. Remember, the plural of anecdote is anecdotes, not data.
But, okay, what about those people that bring out those, I don't know the word for it, but like little machines where like it picks up on radio signals and like you can talk to ghosts, you know, and looks all very scientific. What's going on there?
Now I've driven across the Nullarbor, thousands of kilometres from the nearest local radio station, but luckily there are a few AM radio stations that reach out there. And in fact, you can pick up the world's most powerful radio station anywhere in the world. It's a radio station in the Andes. It's run by some fundamentalist Christians. And so I listen to that as I trundle across the Nullarbor or in the outback. Or you go into a house, and even inside a house, you can pick up radio signals. You can pick up Wi-Fi. Believe it or not, the world is drenched in radio signals. Does that prove that ghosts exist? So you get somebody coming in there with some sort of radio that's picking up either Wi-Fi or Bluetooth or just any sort of electromagnetic radiation, and they say, we're picking up some radio waves. Well, mate, I can pick up Wi-Fi. Does that inside your house in a different room from the Wi-Fi unit, and the signal goes through walls? Does that prove that ghosts exist? No. Does it prove that radio waves go lots of places? Yes. However, electromagnetic radiation can do weird things to the human brain.
Yeah.
There's a wonderful report I read in the magazine The New Scientist where the interviewer, who was a neuroscientist, interviewed, I think, Stanley Persinger, I think it was, who works in this field and has worked for the military. And he can get these so she's lying on the bench, the interviewer, and, you know, she's a full-on scientist and she's got a PhD, and he's blasting, really powerful electromagnetic signals at her brain, really, really powerful. And then suddenly, and he says, okay, now I've discovered this thing. See how you like this. So he does something and picks a certain frequency and a certain amplitude and a certain modulation, AM or FM, and then square wave or sine wave. There's lots of things you do. And then suddenly she can feel she's lying on a table, she can feel that she's bending her left leg at the hip and her left foot is rising in the air, but she looks at it and it's not. And then he says, now, this one's a bit scary, so don't worry. And he picks another bunch of frequencies. And we are not talking ordinary radio waves. We're talking military industrial grade stuff and purely experimental. And suddenly she had this feeling of intense dread and terror.
Oh.
And yet it was just radio waves being blasted at her head. So radio
was
waves...
it a ghost in the room?
It could be that a long time with the radio waves happening, a ghost decided to come along. That's possible, but highly unlikely. I'd like to see the ghost appear without the radio waves. So what we've got with regard to life after death is nothing. So there are many cases of where people have died, left the secret to their fortunes buried or in a safe. Do they ever say, oh, look, Luke, the combination is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? No, that doesn't happen.
What do you make of people like John Edward, right? Now, I interviewed him once on Triple M, and he was obviously promoting his tour to Australia. And I said, okay, well, I'm thinking of someone very dear to me that I miss. Can you tell me who I'm thinking of and is there a message? And he said, no. He said, I don't do readings for TV or radio personalities. I thought, well, that's strange. And then 2 hours later, he was on the Triple M breakfast team and he did and Mark Geyer asked him the same question and he gave Mark Geyer an answer, but he wouldn't give me an answer. So you got people like John Edwards, and there's plenty of them, and they have a big studio audience. Oh, I'm getting a reading from Mary. I'm getting a reading from John. Mary was, and they make a fortune out of doing this. Is it just trickery?
Have you ever run across a good, I'm going to use two words here, cold reader?
No.
Oh, man, they're amazing. So they tend to gravitate to the cops, but also occasionally just in psychology and other diagnostic fields. And I've been on stage with a cold reader and they just say words and they look at your face and different emotions flicker across your face and you can't help it. And they'll say, well, I'm thinking about your wife, your mother, your daughter. And when they said daughter, suddenly something flickered across your face and they knew that was the one. If you ever get a chance, see the Australian Skeptic Society, they bring out cold readers about once every year. If you ever get a chance to work with a cold reader, they are astonishing. But that skill exists mainly, possibly one in every 10,000 or 100,000 people, and it has to be trained. So it's like the skill of being able to be a medical doctor. So I remember on one occasion, I was a junior medical doctor working at a hospital, and my boss, who was very senior, said, look, can you go and have a look at this patient in casualty? I just saw them come in. I didn't actually talk to them. I didn't even look at their records. I just don't like it. There's something wrong with them. And so I said, yeah, okay. So I went and brought them in and did, shoved them through quickly. And they were this 32-year-old yoga teacher who was just bouncing with life. Mate, she was dead in 18 months. She had a stomach cancer, and it's not the sort of thing you can diagnose easily, but he just looked at her, the overall vibe, and we're talking a senior doctor who'd been doing it for half a century. And he just looked at her and he said, there's something I don't like. It's not that he doesn't like her. He likes her, but he didn't like what was happening to her. And as I went through it, gradually, over a period of about, I did a long interview because he asked me to, and it pretty well became obvious that she had a stomach cancer and she was dead within about, I think, 14 months.
So
you pick that across the room.
So if one of our listeners is thinking about going to a psychic, a fortune teller, for serious life advice, what advice would you give them before they parted with their hard-earned money?
put it into a lottery. So, but the thing is, with a lottery, your chances of actually winning are only slightly improved if you actually buy a ticket. So pretend to buy a ticket and then spend the money on a good time with you and your friends.
That's very good advice. It's very good advice.
So, as far as you're concerned, there's no scientific proof that the supernatural exists.
There could be. I do make it my job to read my way through the scientific peer-reviewed literature, and I haven't come across anything yet. There might be something, but I haven't come across it. And if it did come through, oh my God, it'd be big. You see, from the point of view of the physicists, everything that we know about the world we can explain with just 4 forces, which are the gravity force, gravity sucks, the electromagnetic force involved with electrons and radio waves and why you don't fall through the floor when both you and the floor are mostly empty space, the strong nuclear force, holding those positive charges in the centre of the atom together, and the weak nuclear force. And sure, there are things we don't know, but nowhere in there is a ghost force. We do have mysteries in physics. Nowhere do the scientists claim they have all the answers. Oh, my God. We have problems with dark matter, dark energy, the missing 8 dimensions of the universe, and black holes. And we might be lucky to discover another force. And it could be that there is a force involved that would give us ghosts, but at the moment we haven't discovered it as of early 2026.
I'm getting very deep now, but is there any scientific proof that God or a God exists?
Oh, Luke, you're going so off topic.
No, because that's supernatural.
Yes and no.
No, it's not off topic, is it? Dr. Karl, that's not off topic, is it?
It's more historical.
No. You see, there's a problem with the universe. So there's various constants in our universe. You've heard of pi, which is the ratio between the diameter of a pipe and its circumference.
3 point something or other.
Yeah, one of those things. Yeah, you got it. So you got pi, and there's other things like the fine structure constant. There's about a dozen or so constants, and there's a book on this. There's 2 books. One is called Just 6 Numbers by Martin Rees, RWS, and the other one is by my colleague Geraint Lewis, Graint Lewis, Lewas, and it's called A Fortunate Universe. And the scientists worry about this a lot. So we've got these 6 constants that when you do your physics, they just appear everywhere. If any of those constants were off by 1%, our universe would either not exist or not have life in it.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So in most of the possible universes, you would end up with hydrogen and helium and nothing heavier, because there wouldn't be stars that could form to make all the other elements of the periodic table, including the oxygen and the carbon, the nitrogen and the iron and stuff we need. And so the physicists say, why is this happening? How come our universe has these constants exactly right? And then some physicists who are very religious say it's because God made it so. And other physicists say, well, there are all these other universes, but there's nobody there to think about the problem, so they don't think about the problem. And remember this, there is no disharmony between religion and science. And so we had a professor of relativity who was possibly the top relativist in the Southern Hemisphere, and that person was also a minister of religion. And they're 2 very different things, science and religion. Religion depends 100% on faith with no need for proof, whereas science depends 100% on proof and no faith. And this person had both of them running in their brain at the same time, and they both work perfectly fine. Scientists do not have a problem with religion. It's just proving it. Yeah. If you admit that religion can exist without proof, if you start with that as your basic assumption, sure. There are scientists who are very religious.
I love that quote in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams, where the Babel fish that can translate languages, and you put the fish in your ear.
Thanks for all the fish.
Thanks for all the fish, exactly. And the Babel fish's existence was so extraordinary, it had to prove that there was a God. God once said, I do not need to prove that I exist. I exist purely on faith. The Babel fish proved there was a God, and therefore he doesn't exist. Anyway, read Hitchhiker's Guide.
Oh, neato.
It was very, very clever. So, Dr. Karl, we will get you on for a little bit longer down the track. You are recovering from pneumonia. Are you okay?
Yeah. So I had influenza, and if you look at influenza on Earth each year, on average it kills 1 in every 1,000 people, but that includes everybody, including people it didn't even infect. But out of that whole population of the Earth, 1 in 1,000 died. If you narrow it down to people who actually got influenza and have symptoms like I did, the death rate jumps up to 1 in 100. And in my case, I wasn't getting better. The new variant is called influenza A. The vaccine came out last March, and that vaccine, mate, it's 10 months old now. And so it doesn't provide a lot of protection. There's a new vaccine coming out, but also it's an H3. And the old vaccine didn't have much H3 in it. And then also it's mutated a lot. And also there's a variety of it called Super K, not named after me. And so I found myself having similar symptoms to the COVID, where I was just incredibly tired. The way it hit me, I came home and I had some flowers, bought some flowers for my wife. I said, honey, I love you very much, but I've just left the flowers in the sink. I can't put them into a vase. I've just got to lie down. I went up and lay down on a bed with all my clothes in and I was gone for 12 hours. And then in the recovery, I came good, but then I needed some antibiotics. So I had a little pneumonia growing in my lungs, thanks to the wonderful device called an X-ray. And when penicillin got spread out to the normal population around the mid-1940s, within a few years it had increased life expectancy by 15 years.
It's unbelievable. I've often been asked if I could go back in a time machine to any time in history, where would I like to go back? And I said, well, I'd love there's plenty of places, but I don't think I'd like to spend much time back in the past to a time where we didn't have penicillin. Listen, Dr. Karl, we love you very much. Thank you so much for a brief chat today. We're going to get you on longer next week. So, Dr. Karl, do ghosts exist or not?
Maybe, but at the moment there's zero proof. But tomorrow there might be a scientific paper that says that they do exist, but as of today, they don't. We have no proof.
Keep curious.
Curiosity. That's the thing that opens the world to you in so many different ways. So why is the sky blue? But even more, why is it not red? Why blue? Why not green? Why not purple? There's so many questions, so little time.
Yeah, and listen, don't talk about curiosity in front of a cat because they're not pleased with the word.
I can understand their problems there.
Senator David Shoebridge, welcome for your first time to the Bonafide podcast.
Yeah, hey, Luke. Yeah, good to speak.
Look, there's a lot I wanted to talk to you about, and we may have to get you on a couple of times because you've got bells about to ring. Is that correct?
I think the stuff you can't delegate and the voting stuff you can't. So when the bells ring, I've got to run in.
I understand. So look, there's quite a bit I wanted to talk to you, and I just wanted to introduce you to my audience who have probably heard your name plenty, especially at the moment. But how did it all start for you? I know that you're a legal eagle, a barrister by trade. How did you get involved with the Greens? Why the Greens?
Yeah, well, I was minding my own business as a solicitor and then practiced as a barrister, and I love that work, actually, being able to represent people in court and argue their cases. But I did a fair chunk of work for a law firm that represented a lot of trade unions. And there was a point where the government was trying to smash workers' compensation laws. And, and I'd seen firsthand, I'd acted for some of them, just how important workers' comp are. You get injured at work, particularly if you have physical work, you're screwed for life. Chatted to all the different politicians, and first time I ever got mentioned in Parliament, Red Nile attacked me for being a blood-sucking lawyer.
That's right.
Daring to want to talk on behalf of injured workers. And pretty much everyone shut the door to me. But these Greens representatives, and one Green in particular, the state MP who later became a senator, Lee Rhiannon. She said, no, come and meet. I sat down with her. She so got the social justice behind it. She so got the need for respect. And then she went into bat for workers, and I saw her, she moved like 100 amendments. She was the only one who did it. And, you know, I've always loved bushwalking and nature. There was anti-war movements going at the time. It all sort of led to me joining the Greens. And then as I joined them, I just found huge amount of shared values and became a councillor, state MP and a senator. All of that was pretty much accidental. This was not some cunning plan, you know, but it's all been kind of driven by those passions and values.
I understand that because I had interviewed many times the Australian Greens' first president, Bob Brown. And he started the Greens as a party back in 1992. It's funny because 20 years earlier, there was the specifically named United Tasmania Group. That was 1972. And Bob Brown really was a very, very strong voice. And his number one priority was the environment, obviously. Have the Greens moved from that core platform?
Well, I don't think we've abandoned any of our values about environment. You know, the Greens have always had 4 pillars, which is, you know, core to that is peace, social justice, democracy and sustainability. So those 4 pillars have always been core to the party. I think probably just the media lens only focused on climate for much of it. A party that believes in, you know, people and the planet. And I think probably that there are so many pressures on people now becoming less fair. I think that's just become more prominent in our work. But
when you hold enormous power in the Senate, that's a great thing when it comes to bargaining power and getting legislation through. Do you wish that the Greens had a bigger voice in the House of Reps?
We always do. Lost a few of our MPs. We lost 3 of our 4 MPs,
including your leader.
Election, and and that really hurts. But interestingly, we then got more power in the Senate. We now have basically the sole balance of power, and it's, you know, it's a little bit more complicated since the coalition divorced. But of course, we, you know, as a political party, you want to grow your numbers in both chambers, and we are still committed to winning back seats in the lower house. Yeah, it's a tough politics. I don't know if you remember the last election, but we had, you know, the coal lobby, the gambling lobby, the fossil fuel lobby launching well-funded attack ads against us, really focusing on us with these AstroTurf campaigns from groups like Advance or Australians for Prosperity. You know, we don't have financial resources to really meet a lot of that. And I think we learned a lot of lessons about just how brutal politics is when they see you get in power. Like, those corporate interests really turned on us, and you know, we've learned a lot of lessons for the upcoming election.
We've seen in 8 months a split in the coalition happen twice. And the last magnificent blow-up actually involved the Greens, because you had 3 National Party senators voting against the government's proposed hate law legislation. And those 3 senators offered their resignation. It was accepted. And then the other 8 shadow party room National Party members walked. And do you think we'll see the coalition kiss and make up anytime soon?
I don't think it's a kiss and make up. Like, you know, we're talking just before Parliament kicks off, and they've got dueling motions before the Parliament about who they should kick off different committees as a result of the divorce. And you know, there's a huge amount of bad blood between them.
Is it a divorce or is it just a separation?
Well, I mean, you know, from the Liberal Party, it's a separation, but I think from the Nats, it's a divorce. I mean, anything can happen in politics. They might find a way of political convenience and power bringing them back together again, just, you know, for a notional coalition. But, you know, ultimately, these kinds of, if they're going to be at all useful, political alliances need a core amount of trust. You know, like any relationship, if you don't have the trust, the form doesn't define the function. And I think so much trust has been broken between them. Even if they get back together again, they will sure as heck be sleeping in separate bedrooms, I can tell you that.
Yeah, but they might wear the carpet out in between. But yes, you know, I see where you're going. But just there are plenty of other things I wanted to talk to you about Greens and green policy. And I understand that we're under the pump for time because the bells are going to ring and you need to go in and vote. But can I just ask you this? Do you think the coalition can get back together, separate bedrooms as it may, but still back together again with Susan Lee as leader of the Liberal Party?
Well, I think they've got so many internal problems. I mean, there are enough internal problems in the Liberal Party that would question whether or not she can remain the leader. She's sitting over a nest of vipers, and many of them wanting to drag the Liberal Party even further to the right to sort of emulate One Nation. And even if you just looked at the internal dynamics, that's incredibly hard for her. But when you add into that, you know, that the sort of Matt Canavans of the world, when you bring the National Party back in, it's incredibly hard to see how she could unify that sort of broken coalition. But the problem is, you know, who else is there? You've got Angus Taylor, who didn't even come back from Europe when the Parliament was passing these prescription hate laws. Didn't break his holiday and break into a sweat and even come back and vote on it. Stayed off in Europe while the coalition fell apart. I mean, is he the person to lead them out of the wilderness? So or Andrew Hastie, who is even more sort of far-right conspiracy
Well,
theorist,
I think Conservative voters are sick of moderates. And I think that's why Pauline Hanson's popularity, if you believe the polls, why her popularity is just soaring. I think that Conservative voters want an opposition and they're sick of wishy-washy moderates. That's how I take it.
Yeah, well, I think actually what they see is so many people are hurting now and they're so offended by what politics is not doing and what it's doing that I think wanting to just anything but the status quo, I think explains a bunch of that. So if you've got parties that are standing for business as usual, and business as usual is seeing you work 3 jobs, can't afford your mortgage, you're not sure if your kids are going to have a future, you're not sure if, you know, even if you work harder than your parents, you may not ever get a home. And then someone's political pitch to you is, well, actually things are pretty good, more of the same. I think that explains a lot of the disaffection. I think our job from the left is to give a far more hopeful and positive alternative to the crap status quo than what Pauline Hanson does and blame it on migrants and try and cause division. Our job from the left is to say, well, actually, yeah, the status quo is cooked. You know, we understand all of that, but here's a hopeful solution to you: a fairer share of wealth, taxing billionaires, dealing with the climate crisis, giving you a hope in a far better future, a far better society. And, you know, I think we've got to do that better. We've got to give that alternate hope.
Sure, but I think Pauline Hanson on immigration, for example, I'm yet to read a proposed budget from One Nation, but just on migration, a lot of Australians, particularly since the Reserve Bank put interest rates back up again, a lot of Australians are just thinking there's no way in the world I'll ever own a house. So we have a housing shortage in Australia. Do we need more immigration if we haven't got places for people to live that are already here?
Well, the Australia Institute has done analysis that shows we're building more houses than people who are entering the country and our natural population growth. We've been doing it for years. We're building more houses than we bring in new people or we have population growth. The problem isn't migration that's cooking our housing market. The problem is a bunch of deliberately focused tax lurks that see the federal Commonwealth giving billions and billions and billions of dollars in tax subsidies for people to get their 4th, their 5th, their 10th investment property, whether it's negative gearing or capital gains tax, vastly more going out in tax concessions to wealthy investors, driving up house prices than we're spending on things like rent assistance or even building public homes. So I know it's simple for One Nation to say it's all about migrants and, you know, but the truth is, if you remember in COVID and we shut the borders, and for 18 months we had net negative migration, like more people left than came to Australia for 18 months in COVID. And in those same 18 months, guess what happened to house prices? Record national surge, they went up by 20%. So negative migration, housing prices went up by 20%. It's easy for One Nation to point to migrants and people being different and say they're the problem. What we actually need to do, we need to build public housing. We need to stop the tax lurks that are driving up housing prices, and we need to give people access. We need to treat homes as homes, not some kind of investment vehicle for a very small part of the population to make huge profits off while other people don't have a home and don't have a future.
Look, you and I need to talk again because there's so much I would love to glean from you, but there is a hot topic happening in Australia today, and it's a domestic issue. And I'd love to know your thoughts on all of this. We've learned this week that the Albanese government has identified 67 defence sites for sale. They say it will unlock up to $1.8 billion. And I was listening to Richard Marles, the Defence Minister, on television this morning on Channel 7, and he said, well, these properties haven't been used in over 4 or 5 years. They're desolate, they're falling down, they're in decay, and they want to go. Now, in Sydney particular, if you listen to Talkback Radio, the phones are white hot on people who are absolutely horrified that places like Victoria Barracks might be sold off. What are your thoughts on all of this?
Well, I mean, this is, first of all, I haven't got a huge amount of time for Richard Marles as the Defence Minister. I'm on record as saying his position on AUKUS and, just doing whatever Defence tells him. He doesn't really bring a lot of an independent analysis to a lot of tricky problems in the defence space, and this just sums it up, right? Like, all of the key sites in my home city of Sydney are all, regularly used. Victoria Barracks in Paddington, regularly used. Randwick Barracks, regularly used. RWF Glenbrook, just up in the mountains, I mean, these are all actual functioning defence sites. But more fundamentally, the Commonwealth government is not a business, right? It's much more than a business being a government. You're meant to be a steward of the public estate. You're meant to be a steward of public interest. You're meant to be looking after the long-term needs. And we have these extraordinary sites, some in the centre of Sydney, in the centre of Melbourne, Hobart, Brisbane, like extraordinary sites. They should absolutely remain in public hands. What Labor wants to do is flog it off at the highest market value they can get to whichever property developer will take it. That's what they're planning.
Is it kind of like, let's say in 100 years, Senator, hypothetically, 100 years from now, because of the cost of living and a change in lifestyle, places like the Sydney Opera House aren't used anymore? Is it a bit like saying? Is it a bit like saying let's flog off this amazing piece of real estate to the highest bidder because it's not needed anymore? Is it kind of like that?
Yeah, people stop going to church, so we convert them to high-end luxury penthouse apartments. But fundamentally, these are enormously valuable public assets. Now, I am all for moving them out of the defence estate. If they're not useful for defence, by all means, move them out of the defence estate. But somewhere like Victoria Barracks in Sydney, you could build some public housing there. There's some terrible, horrible buildings that were built in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s. They don't have heritage value, and you could find part of the site, and probably a significant part of the site, to build a fair chunk of public housing. We were talking about housing crisis. Well, I've got a solution for you. Build a couple of hundred apartments for public housing on Victoria Barracks, but then keep these beautiful heritage buildings, keep the green open space, open it up for fresh parkland for the Sydney, create amazing cultural venues in these heritage places, and you get a win-win-win-win. We get to protect and maintain and have these heritage places have an ongoing public value. We get some fresh parkland, we get some public housing. Like, if we had a government that was doing that, they could inspire people. But what do we get? We get Richard Marles coming out and being a real estate agent, with our history, with our heritage, with our green open space.
Yeah, I've got to ask you your thoughts on our relationship with the United States, because President Donald Trump is now being seen almost globally as not just the sheriff of the world, but the dictator of the world and a bully. And we have an agreement. It's called the AUKUS agreement. I remember when it was announced. I want to know the Greens' perspective on our relationship with Donald Trump. How much faith do you have in this man who's the so-called leader of the free world and our relationship with the United States? When you consider Trump is almost at war with China, and yet China's our largest trading partner. What do you and the Greens make of our relationship with the United States, and where do you think it's heading?
Well, I mean, where the so-called parties of government, the Labor Party, the Liberal Party, the National Party, they're trying to double down on the relationship right now, deepen it, bring more US troops here, more US bases, make us entirely interoperable with the United States military, buy their nuclear submarines. Like, they want to double down on the relationship right now, and that's what AUKUS is about. And I've got to tell you, I think that is crazy reckless to do that. I mean, previously we used to say that this relationship with the United States was in our interest because the United States believes in the rules-based international order, enforcing international law, predictability, respecting sovereignty of states, and all of that. That was always a sales pitch. There wasn't a lot of truth to it, but at least it was a sales pitch that you could believe in. Now we've got a guy who is threatening to invade his NATO allies, who's threatening to invade Canada, who's randomly throwing tariffs off if he doesn't like people, who is going to war with Iran, who has invaded and kidnapped the head of state of a country in Venezuela, who treats his allies with utter contempt, utter disdain and contempt, and basically sees himself as the sort of global standover man, right? Now, that is challenging. I think you would have to say that any country that just says, oh, it's business as normal, we're going to double down on it, and we think our future is tied to the United States. Because, Donald Trump is almost certainly not just an aberration as a president. He's creating a movement and potentially future presidents who will continue on this trajectory of erratic self-interest, violent self-interest. So absolutely, we should revisit our relationship with the United States. We should cancel this AUKUS business, and we should be getting an independent foreign and defence policy.
We should cancel AUKUS. We should
super cancel AUKUS.
We should cancel. How much is that going to cost us if we renege on that?
Well, that will save us $375 billion. That's what it'll do, because that's what we're proposing to spend to not get some submarines. It won't cost us. It will save us huge amounts of money. And we could actually have a defence force designed to defend Australia rather than go to war with the United States, because that's what they're building. They're not building a defence force to defend Australia. They're building a defence force to go to war with the United States wherever they tell us to go to war. And the deeply, deeply frightening prospect is that they're dragging us into the United States' next war with China, and that would be catastrophic. From a human level, catastrophic. From an economic level, catastrophic. On every level, catastrophic. But literally, both the Labor Party and the Coalition, the Liberal Party, they're inviting us to that next war, and we're paying for the privilege. It's nuts.
I've mentioned this to a few other people on this podcast, but I've got to ask you your thoughts on the Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney's speech at the World Economic Forum. I thought it was just groundbreaking where he says we've got to get away from these big bully players and find other markets. What did you make of his speech?
Well, I mean, he's got a vision, hasn't he, to suggest a way around the bullying and aggression of the likes of Donald Trump or Vladimir Putin or Xi Jinping, right? There is a potential centre of gravity amongst middle-sized powers with Canada, Europe, Australia, countries like India, Brazil. There's a potential centre of gravity there which can be a counterpoint to the hectoring bullying of someone like Donald Trump. And we bloody well should give it a go and sort of lean into other countries that share our values, want international relations not based on might is right, but some kind of basic principle. I thought he was everything Anthony Albanese is not in that space.
Senator David Shoebridge from the Greens, it's been short, but it's been fascinating. Can we have a bit longer next time? Because I'd like to do a deeper dive into you and how your brain works and what it's like being it's not up there because it's next door, but up there in the Senate. Senator, thank you so much for your time. More time next time, hey?
Yeah, cheers, Luke. Good speaking.
Time for one of my favourite regular segments, and that is Motoring with James Ward, content editor with drive.com.au. James, g'day again. Welcome back to Bonafide.
Mate, it's always a highlight to be here. I think we laugh every time because, look, the world of motoring is always a good one. There's always some fun things to talk about. But geez, I tell you what, there's so much stuff in the news and so many things that we could get worked up about because just common sense needs to prevail in a lot of these things. But I do always enjoy coming on the show.
We love you. Look, there's a little bit of news that I want to get to, the latest news in motoring around the place. But I wonder if on this episode we could start with me the other day going for a trip down memory lane. Now, there's a reason for this. I got a photo the other day of my old Kingswood station wagon, and I'll send it to you. And I'm looking at it thinking, gee, I wish I had the money to find the shell of a 78 HZ Kingswood station wagon in good condition, and it's almost impossible now. And to get it up to speed to where I had it, we're looking at somewhere between $120,000 and $140,000. So it's an impossible dream. But one of the things I would have to do if I did restore one is put what I know many, many muscle car enthusiasts still insist on putting on the BF Goodrich raised white lettered radial TA tyres on. A muscle car does not look right without them. And it got me thinking,
I agree.
Why? Because when I had mine, I had massive wide wheels on the back, 8 inches on the front, but they were 16, I think, on the back or something, And I had to have them machined in a little bit so that they didn't scrape on the guard. But my God, it looked tough. And it looked so tough and looked so good. However, having had a lot of experience driving this thing, brilliant in the dry, but the most dangerous tyre I ever experienced in the wet. It skated. And so I thought I'll talk to James about this. Folks, just look up classic muscle cars online and have a look at them. It doesn't matter whether it's a Ford, a Holden, a Mustang. Most of these cars have the famous wide BF Goodrich raised white lettered radial TAs. James, why?
Mate, you want to know some good news?
Yeah.
BF Goodrich still make these tyres, and they make them to a modern standard. So they may not be the high performance tyre. So what has happened over the years, and you look at cars, and particularly performance cars, we've moved to bigger wheels and lower profile tyres.
Yeah.
And basically that means the amount of rubber, because you think about some of those, you would have had maybe 12 or 13 inch rims.
Mm-hmm.
They're wide, but they would have been, the diameter would have been about 12 or 13 inch. You would have had quite a lot of rubber on that.
Yes.
And you've got room there to fit the BF Goodrich radial TA lettering on there. But as we've moved to larger wheels and thinner tyres, the argument being that a car through cornering, that sidewall flexes, right? So you get movement in the rubber. And with a lower profile tyre, you get less lateral movement in the rubber, and the car has better dynamic grip. And basically you are a more accurate car from steering wheel to performance on the road. Moving to a thinner profile, you've got physically less room to put lettering. It's one of those things. But if you are restoring a classic car, or you have a classic car, BF Goodrich still sell these tyres, and they've created a modern rubber compound. So it heats up better, it disperses, the tread pattern's still the same. So it still disperses water like it's the 1970s, but it is a more modern compound, which means it's still a very safe tyre to have. It's a far better performing tyre than it used to be, so that you could stick them on the back of the Kingswood and you could still smoke them up, but it will grip and handle a lot better than it used to. But it is one of those things that I feel we have lost the art of, because what we've seen with manufacturers, and here's the thing, you'll go and buy bigger wheels and lower profile tyres because they can look good. And yes, you do get more dynamic performance, but you get less ride comfort, right? Because there's less rubber to compress. There's less rubber to essentially shield you from the road and vibrations. Your cars are a bit stiffer and a bit more sort of, firm to ride in. Going back to a higher sidewall is what a lot of manufacturers are now looking at, saying, well, we can, with modern tyre technology, that tyre doesn't flex as much as it used to. We can allow a little bit more compression in the tyre, so you do get a bit more comfort, and we've kind of got a best of both worlds. So I reckon we need to see a return to raised lettering on the cars. And even, here's the other one. Remember, either the radial TA, or you had not white walls, you had red walls. Remember red wall tyres on, and you'd see them on Falcon Jeep. It was a red stripe around the side. They looked at mint, right? And remember, your Hot Wheels used to get red wall wheels on Hot Wheels to mimic those. It definitely is something that sort of sits in that era of cars, the muscle car era. They do look fantastic, but yeah, you can get still BF Goodrich. You can get other brands, but I'm going to kind of see this one. When you have BF Goodrich radial TA on your tyres on the side of the car, it looks pretty tough. when you have like Nankang or another random.
Yokohama was another one with white lettering, I think.
Well, you used to get them on the 4-wheel drive. So you had the Desert Jeweler, was the raised lettering on 4-wheel drive. So you would see that on Land Cruisers and Pajeros and things. But yeah, look, it is something that is definitely cool, and they do look good.
I've seen Dunlop tyres with raised white lettering as well.
It's some of the brands do it. I was actually having a look. I can see that Maxxis, you can get some Maxxis ones, you can get some Vitours, you can get some Nankangs. They're tyres. But the BF Goodrich were they were the
standard. They were the muscle car standard.
When you're wearing sneakers, you can wear Aero Sports, you can wear all sorts of things. Yeah. But if you're serious, you're wearing Nikes or Adidas. And so it was the one to have. And they were a good tyre, but you can do it. And we're seeing even Pirelli are now doing recreation in modern rubber standards of some of their classic tyres. So if you're restoring cars of a certain period, you can get tyre sizes to fit them that have got the same tread pattern, but built to a modern standard. So it's kind of cool.
They were the muscle car standard, the BF Goodrich radial TAs, white lettered. But my car, especially I guess being a station wagon, I did have air shocks and very firm suspension. But my God, it was dangerous in the wet, James.
Mate, it was a time, right? But then you were driving. You had to have skill and concentration and capability to be able to handle such a thing. Whereas these days the cars are sort of doing a lot for you. I did a piece on the Today Show last week. Right. You can catch it on, I think Nine's got it on its YouTube, because Mercedes-Benz took the wraps off an updated S-Class. So they're top of the range luxury sedan. And this has always been the car that they pioneer new technology on. And then it filters down to other cars. But even in the case of Mercedes-Benz, they'll develop stuff that will filter into other cars from other brands. So S-Class pioneered, I think, multiple airbags, the dynamic lighting system that you see now in like Toyotas, crumple zones, electronic stability control, ABS. So stuff that we have in every car started on an S-Class and filtered down. But the new one, they've put in AI. So you've got like a ChatGPT and Google Gemini engine doing stuff. They've got airbags in the seat belts. Now they've got airbags on the backs of the front seats. So if it's in a collision, rear passengers have an airbag as well. But the coolest thing that they put in there that everyone's sort of focusing on, heated seatbelts.
No.
And it's like, bring me more heating in my car. And the argument is that the Mercedes-Benz engineers have worked out, because they did some tests on this, and they had a test car where they put all these new safety things to sort of test and measure. And they worked out that people are more inclined to wear a seatbelt if it's a heated seatbelt. And that if you're in a cold climate and you're getting into the car in a bulky jacket or whatever on a cold day, you're less likely to be wearing clothing like that, because it will restrict you. But the other thing is they're saying if they can warm the passengers quickly through a seatbelt and a heated seat, they don't need to warm the cabin as quickly, so the car is more efficient. So there's a bit of method to it, but mate, I'm set up. I am ready. I love my heated steering wheel, my little Peugeot station wagon.
It doesn't have a heated steering wheel.
Oh, no. Once you've had this, it's like holding like a warm breadstick in the morning. You're like, this is the greatest thing ever. And then with a heated seatbelt, it'd be just like having Claudia Schiffer come up and give you a cuddle from behind every morning. That's all we ask for as humans, That's what we want. Just a hug in the car, make you feel better as a person.
Do you know, we were talking about Thunderbirds the other day, because I'm a bit FAB, Scotty.
Oh, you mean Ford Thunderbirds or Thunderbird puppets?
No, I was talking about models, because I'm a Thunderbird freak. And I was just, you just said Claudia Schiffer. I was just thinking, if Brains from Thunderbirds married Claudia Schiffer, she'd be Claudia Schiffer Brains.
Didn't she marry the magician? So technically she was a bit Schiffer Brains to have done that.
Anyway, just while we're on tyres and wheels, can I ask you something? We've seen the disappearance of the spare tyre. And more and more cars now have space-saving wheels, which you are not allowed to drive at a certain speed and for only a certain distance. Why is that? Is it because the space saver obviously takes up less space in the boot or wherever it is you store it? But has it got something to do when the car is released? It releases its weight, and the lighter the car, the better the specs look, and the better it is on fuel consumption. Has it got something to do with that?
It is literally space.
Oh, okay.
Right? You look at it. You go and you look at your Mercedes. I used to have a so going back where are we now? About 15 years ago, I had a BMW X5 and it had wheels. So the wheels with tire, they were 20-inch wheels that were 11 inches wide. They are a huge wheel. And now you've got cars with 22 and 23-inch wheels and tires. Normal cars are running 18s and 19s. That is a big piece of mass, right? And you see a lot of cars that are staggered. So they have a different size, usually just width on the front than they do on the back.
Mm-hmm.
And so the thing is, if you've got staggered wheels, so if you take that BMW X5, the front wheels are a smaller width than the rear wheels, even though they're both a 20-inch diameter wheel. They're thinner at the front than they are at the back. So what one do you put in as the spare? Do you put a thin one or do you put a fat one? And then even if you've got a car that's got the same size wheel all round, like most 4x4 SUVs or four-wheel drive SUVs will do that, if you've got 19-inch wheels with a bit of rubber, like we were talking about before, that's a huge mass to put in the car. And with modern cars looking for better ways to save space and use space, having an enormous wheel well to fit a giant tire and wheel like that it's a compromised space. And you're seeing more and more cars using hybrid systems. So what they're doing is they're saying, well, where we had that area carved out to fit a spare wheel, we can actually put a battery pack to run the hybrid, because realistically, you're using the hybrid battery every single time you drive the car. How often are you using the spare wheel? And the argument kind of is not that often, right? Like, okay, we've got a lot of potholes around Sydney and Melbourne, and so people are damaging their wheels more often. But having the need to carry the spare wheel is just something that we see is becoming rarer and rarer. So having a space saver allows you to pull your broken wheel off, put that on, get going, and get to a repair centre so you can either repair or replace that tyre or wheel and keep going. But that is fundamentally it. It's space. It's one of those things.
One more thing, and we can go into this in more depth on another chat, but it's just an interesting observation. So, yes, I am loving the ML, and the engine is rock solid, so which is great, and it's a naturally aspirated V8. But when other things go wrong, because it's getting a little old now, the AMG Specialist, it's got a knocking slightly. It's not that loud, but it's a slightly annoying knock from the front, and he diagnosed it that there was a right front strut. All right, this is where it gets interesting. Powerbee's already doing the heavy lifting. Full meal replacement, chocolate flavour. It really fills you up. And it's the only shake in Australia with Nature Bee's Power Pollen inside it. You've got premium grass-fed whey protein, 4 strains of probiotics, vitamins designed to keep you fueled without overthinking it, 2 shakes a day, alongside a balanced diet and exercise. Done. But here's the kicker. Nature Bee's running a bucket list competition. And it wraps up Friday, January 30. We're talking about scoring a $20,000 life-changing travel experience. Amalfi Coast, Egypt, the Great Barrier Reef, the Grand Canyon by helicopter, anything you want. 10 more winners get gift cards and Nature Bee prizes as well. And all you need to do is spend $79.90 for your chance to win. All you need is a valid passport and a little bit of initiative. And yep, it's backed with a 100% money-back guarantee. Click the links in the description. Head to naturebee.com. That needed replacing. The Mercedes AMG genuine part for just a strut.
Here we go, yeah.
$4,700. So I've taken it to the other mechanic that looks after Nikki's car, who's very, very good at sourcing the products, non-factory products. And he's found a European strut that is perfect for my car. He said the specs are just as good as the AMG part, $900. What the hell? So my ultimate question is, do you stick with genuine parts, BMW, Mercedes, Jaguar, whatever, or are you just better off getting a non-factory part that apparently, and I've done, you know what I'm like, I went online and I checked it out. It's the same thing just about. it just doesn't have an AMG little logo on it that you never see anyway. Is this just ridiculous?
Look, this is the Pandora's box of car ownership in terms of parts. And I'm going to throw a word here because this is the key word, warranty. Okay? So if your car is within warranty, some of these parts are considered wear items, some of them are considered non-wear items. So if you had a shot like that fail and you took it into your service place and they said, yeah, that's a warranty failure, we'll replace that. Cool, your warranty's covered, they'll do it with genuine parts. But if this is considered a wear item and they say, well, no, it's just simply one of those things. It's not warranty past this point. The rest of the warranty for the car stands, but that's not, we won't replace that. And you go and get non-genuine parts to replace that. What you end up doing is potentially voiding other parts of the warranty on the car. The manufacturer can then go, well, you're not running genuine shock absorbers, therefore we're not going to support anything to do with maybe brackets or steering or anything that's sort of connected to that front end or whatever it is. And basically the idea of why genuine parts tend to cost more is because for a car manufacturer now, and you see 5, 7, 10-year warranties are pretty standard. For them to have, that's a risk that they're carrying. It's kind of like insurance that the car brands are taking out on your car. They're saying, we will make sure that car runs for 5 years, let's say. And that has a cost element to come with it, so that those parts need to be their warranted parts. So they're saying, okay, that is a $4,000 part because if you put that on your car, we know that that's going to be okay and that's going to maintain your warranty and our insurance on that vehicle can sort of keep going. Whereas if you get another part, and to be fair, right, like you've got a lot of these manufacturers who are building components. So say suspension, Bilstein, right? A big German suspension company will make parts for manufacturers. So it will be a Bilstein created component, but it'll have an AMG part number on it because it's for Mercedes. You can technically get the like for like from Bilstein.
Yes.
It's the same thing, but it's that little bit of red tape.
But how can you go from 4,500 to 900?
No, because the cost of the part is that it covers. There is money in there to cover the warranty, but then warranty is the thing here. So if your car is outside of warranty,
mine's way outside, way outside.
You are within your rights to be able to say, well, I'm going to take the identical part number to do it. What you are doing then, you are taking on that risk of the vehicle. Now, I'm saying if you've got, like we said, you've got a Bilstein shock absorber that has its own Bilstein part number and it has a separate Mercedes-Benz part number, and you choose the Bilstein part number to save half price, odds on, right, there's going to be no problems. It's going to be fine because you're buying a reputable brand. What we do see, though, is that you've got, I want to use the word non-genuine, but it's counterfeit, to be honest. You've got a lot of very, very cheap components coming out of some markets that are essentially counterfeit genuine parts. They look the same, they're running similar part numbers, but they're not built to the same standards. They're not built to the same quality levels. And people go, well, hang on, genuine one's $2,000, this one's $400. I'm going to get the $400 one because it looks the same. May look the same, may have a similar, but it's not going to be the same. And so this is the risk. And what you have then is if you buy a non-genuine part, and yes, it may save you money, and yes, say it fails, you have no recourse against the manufacturer.
Okay.
To that point.
I get that.
So you're basically saying, I will take warranty responsibility from this point on to do it. But for your example, years ago, I used to run a business where we managed a fleet of supercars. And I had to go and get some brake pads for a Lamborghini. And they were $6,000 for a set of brake pads for a Lamborghini. Those same brake caliper, like exactly identical, were also fitted to the Audi RS6 at the time. And I rang the Audi dealer and they were $600. And they are identical parts. They came in the same box. So there is an element of you're paying your brand tax on some of these things.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a bit outrageous like that, but other times it's just there to manage. So if you are shopping for replacement parts, particularly for higher end vehicles, do look at those parts supplier. Do try and find the part number. Don't go to eBay or Temu and buy suspension from some, Alibaba in China. If they were a Bilstein shop, for
Alibaba
example,
didn't live in China, but anyway, keep going.
yeah.
Anyway, keep going.
If they were a Bilstein shop for Bilsteins, all that kind of stuff. But you do see that moreover. But the question, the big word is my car under warranty? If it is, you're better off going with genuine. If it isn't, you're taking on responsibility. We always suggest to do your shopping around and pick a genuine, like a quality part.
Okay, because there is one other thing. The rear right shock absorber, not the strut. The strut's the front. Rear right shock absorber, when he was inspecting the car, there was oil coming out. He said, you're going to need a new rear right shock absorber. And the mechanic number 2, who's now going to be mechanic number 1, said, yeah, sure, I can do that. And it'll be a fraction of the price he's quoted you, which was $2,500 for a genuine shock absorber. He said, but you're better off getting the 2 done. With the same.
And that's always the way. If you've got a genuine part here and a non-genuine part here, that's not good. Just do two of the same.
He said, with the rear shock absorber, let's do the 2 back ones.
The other thing to remember too is when you come to sell this car and somebody does a pre-purchase inspection, they will see their non-genuine parts. And so you've got to wear that with it as well. Like if I'm buying a second-hand performance Mercedes and I see it's got non-genuine shock absorbers on, I ain't paying top dollar for that car. So you've got to manage the cost now versus the resale down the train. Yeah. And when you're dealing with massive discrepancies in price, like when you've got thousands of dollars different, you can probably work this one out. It's a pretty easy sum to do. The other one that I see people do all the time, particularly for European cars, is look in Europe. You've got parts sellers, you've got wreckers, you've got dismantlers, you've got plenty of these parts that are universal on these cars in all markets that you can get bits and pieces. The thing with suspension, though, is many manufacturers do a unique Australian suspension setup. So you do need to make sure you have got apples for apples when you're doing this. But if you are replacing genuine with third-party parts, I completely agree with your mechanic. You do both sides at the same time so that you have uniform capability.
Yeah, well done. And that's a good lesson. And we can dive into, I don't know if scam's the right word, but the pros and cons of replacement parts.
I think pros and cons is a really good way to look at it, right? Like, and it's the same if you go to some brands and they do a fluid change on a car. So you're using a specific oil, a specific brake fluid and things like that. The oil is based on its number, right? So you have its viscosity and you have its temperature and things like that. So you can buy oils that match the requirement of your car. It doesn't matter what brand it is. And quite often just the oil is 10 times, 5 times different in price because it's got a brand name sticker on it. Things like that. The oil. Remember the old ad? Oils ain't oils.
Castrol.
Oils ain't oils.
That was a Castrol ad.
Oil figures are basically the same. So if you're buying a specific, temperature sensitive and the light viscosity oil of any brand, for the most part, they are interchangeable. But you do, again, it comes down to where your car sits in the value equation. Is it in warranty? Are you looking to sell it? Are you looking to maintain top dollar for it? Or is it a bit of a project car and you don't mind having a bit of a go yourself, in which case, just do your research, be smart about it, but you can save a lot of money by going a little bit off book.
Yeah. Look, I don't think, if I do sell it, I know I won't get anywhere near what I paid for it. And I paid a pretty good price.
I reckon you will.
But the engine is in immaculate condition. They did a compression test and it's not turboed. It's a naturally aspirated 6.2.
They're not making them anymore.
No, they're not making them anymore, but other parts will wear down. Like, for example, he said the genuine Mercedes bushes they only last 50,000 kilometres. Why?
Because again, they're designed to do what they do. If you made a bushing, so on the suspension again, it's allowed to give the car a little bit of play and comfort. So you've got a little bit of flex, but you've also got a little bit of tautness in there. To do that to a specification, to give you the performance characteristics that you want out of that car, that part has to be a bit degradable because it is soft. It has to compress. It has to do things, and the material it's made from is not eternal. You couldn't have steel bushes, right? Because then you've got no play and you've got no flex.
They're rubber.
Yeah. So the idea where you do have parts of a car are engineered to last a certain amount of time, and again, the car brands, they do it to make that car the best that it can be. Remembering that these days, those cars are designed to weather a 5 to 10 year warranty of normal driving. So the cars you are buying today are the most over-engineered cars that we've seen because they are designed to last so much longer than they were. But then you look at how people drive. They're not being put through. These are cars that are not doing laps of the Nürburgring every single day, right? They are not put to the limit. They are running within maybe, 20% of their capability, maximum. So you've got a pretty safe bet from the manufacturers to say the suspension on a Kia is hardly going to be put to the test by most drivers. So they sort of work out that longevity equation there. But look, cars are, we all know this, you've got to spend money on them to keep them maintained. They don't last forever. And occasionally you've got big ticket items that do need to be either rebuilt, replaced, repaired. And sometimes you do see this, it's not economically viable to do that. You have to lead with your heart and then say, I love this car, so I'll invest money into it, versus it doesn't make sense, maybe I should move it on.
Are the service fees and the amount of wearing parts, anything that moves wears out, right?
Yes.
Is it cheaper to maintain an electric vehicle?
Yeah, much, because you've got far fewer moving parts. You've still got traditional things like brakes and tires and all that sort of stuff. But an electric car uses its motor as friction. So it's using less brake. Like it's using the brake pads less. And there are far less moving parts in electric motors and things than there are in a combustion engine. So from a simplicity perspective, yes, absolutely, they are more long lasting. They are less hard wearing, and they are far cheaper to service. But you do need to maintain them, and then you've got the risk of the battery. So we're seeing this now, where we're starting to hit into this first group of people who have had electric vehicles for a long period of time that are now starting to hit 250,000 kilometers or higher. And they're starting to say, you know what, the batteries are starting to degrade a bit. And when you think about it, if you've had a car for 10 years, that battery was built on technology that was probably developed 5 years before that. So if we're looking at, you're having problems with a car now that's got a 15-year-old technology battery, and you think of the speed at which we're moving in that space, it's kind of okay to think that that's sort of hitting its limit now if you are running that car at a significant distance. What I'm saying now is that we're dealing with technology that has moved on past that, and we don't know sort of still where we are. But having a 10-year-old EV is getting to the point now where some people are saying it's not economically viable to replace that battery because that's still an expensive component to be able to do. You're seeing a lot of people basically wreck them and turn the batteries and motors into other cars. So you're seeing where people are doing resto mods, where they're taking old Volkswagens or Porsches and turning them into electric vehicles and combi vans and Range Rovers and things like that. Those electric motors and those batteries are usually coming from Teslas or Nissan Leafs and things like that.
James Ward is with us. We're talking motoring, and it's really good advice. Another topic that we can do a deeper dive into down the track is I noticed Nikki doing something very naughty, and my daughter, who also has an automatic, doing something very naughty. And my mechanic said, this is the biggest lesson in an automatic transmission. Do not, as you're reversing out of a car space, do not put it into drive while it's still coasting backwards. Come to a complete stop, then put it in drive, or vice versa.
I hear rental cars are really good for that, or your dad's car was always really good for putting it in reverse and then slapping it into drive. But apparently that's only something that works on a car that isn't yours. But yeah, look, the force changing the transmission, shocking the transmission from going from reverse to drive, don't do that. If it's your car, let it come to a complete stop, click, click, move it in. You want to try and treat your car kindly. Mechanical sympathy, it's called, because you want it to be reliable. If you are hard on it, it's going to be hard on you. And, you know, it's like people who start the car in the morning and it's cold and they just go straight to red line.
No.
You've got to treat it kindly. It's like look, yeah, we could go into all sorts of analogies on how to treat your car, but it's like basic human decency. You let it warm up. You know, you take it out to dinner, you give it a good time, then you can have some fun.
At least take it out to dinner before you have sex with it.
That's right. We're coming up to Valentine's Day. Maybe we should have that as a thing. We'll do our Valentine's show, how to treat your car right.
Yes, that's right. That's very, very good. If you've got any questions for James, please, he wants to hear from you. Let us know, lukebonaradioguy@gmail.com, and leave us a voice message on 0291 289311. Now, James, a bit of news. At the recording of today's podcast, the New South Wales government has announced that it's about to significantly expand its speed camera network. And they're having an enforcement trial of average speed cameras on light vehicles, cars, motorcycles and utes on regional highways. It all starts July 1. So there are going to be about 2,500 extra speed cameras in New South Wales. The argument is they want to slow people down and that they will save lives. Your response?
Do you know what? As a Victorian, whenever I travel in New South Wales and you see a sign telling you that there's a speed camera, like right up ahead, I love it, right? Because it's like, oh yeah, good call. I will slow down. And I tell you what, I'm not getting any younger. I'm on the downward slide. I've passed the 5.0.
No, you're in your prime, mate.
No longer a 5.0. I'm moving up to a 5.0. What out of 5.1? I know Lamborghini had a 5.2 litre V10. What out of 5.1? If I'm currently a Mustang GT, I'm 5.0. What is 5.1? I might have to have a look and see where that is. But anyway, I tend to not speed these days. It's just not worth it. I haven't lost a point or got a point or whatever the system is. It honestly, it's just not worth it. If you are dealing with modern cruise control systems, just use the car's cruise control. New South Wales has a reasonable amount of elasticity and leniency in its speed. So I find in New South Wales on the Hume, where it says 110, I'll set my cruise to 115 and I am happy as Larry because I'm within the tolerance. I'm usually lower than the speed limit and I'm kind of casually moving past slower moving vehicles. The elapsed time cameras, so the average speed camera things it's a little bit sneaky because it's basically saying we're not going to get you at this one particular point. We want to make sure you don't sort of speed up on these roads. What we do need from the government is the understanding of real accident prevention, right? So focusing this network not on the best driving roads or the best ways to catch drivers and the best ways. So if you come up and there's this beautiful downhill pass that you might speed up a little bit on, don't put them there. Put them where there are known accident black spots. Put them on areas that can, documented, save lives because people are slowing it, where you have documented proof that speed and inattentive driving is the cause for these crashes. And that's the thing, right? We want to see not just revenue raising, we want to see an actual reduction in road toll. And I can tell you this, we aren't seeing an actual reduction in road toll. I think the road toll has gone up the last 5 years. For the first time, it's ever done that since the 1950s. We are in our road safety is deplorable at the moment because we've got terrible training. We've got under-resourced police. We're basically relying on cameras and AI to do all the work that used to be done by humans. We're not reinforcing good behavior. It's all stick, no carrot. We're not. You've still got people, and this does my head in, who don't wear seatbelts, even heated seatbelts. Wear your seatbelt, you morons, right? If you are in a car and you're not wearing a seatbelt, just shred your license. You're the dumbest person in the world, and you can email me, askdrive@drive.com.au. If you have an argument for why you shouldn't be wearing a seatbelt, I'll listen to it and I will shoot you down because you're an idiot. The idea of these things, we need to see the government actually focusing on what is causing the crashes, look at the data, look at what we're learning from that, and then make real remedial efforts to fix that. And if that happens to be slowing people down on a documented unsafe stretch of road, terrific. If that's better lighting, better signage on roads, if that's centre dividers, we saw a lot of that in regional New South Wales where you had people falling asleep and crossing the lane. There were these horrific head-ons. There are things that the government can do to prevent real crashes, but we need to see the data and we need to see results because we are not seeing results. More speed cameras means more revenue, but it doesn't mean safer roads. And so let's try and align these things together.
It's funny how you're saying that you and I have not passed our prime, but I'd like to think we're in our prime. I don't speed either, and yet I'm in a car that's very tempting to do it. Mine does 0 to 100. It's advertised 0 to 104.9 seconds for a very heavy 6.2 naturally aspirated AMG V8. But I don't, and I tell you why. One, I treasure my license. Two, I don't want to smoke up tyres because they're bloody expensive.
And the shock absorbers aren't cheap either,
$700 a corner for tyres. But I also don't want to get brake dust on my shiny rims. So this is it. So I don't want to brake heavily. So is this car wasted on me? No,
because you love it, right? And driving enjoyment doesn't mean you have to break the law. You can have a lot of fun in a beautiful car on a nice road, well within legal tolerances, right? Like it is, find a good road. Driving like a moron, doing stupid things, that doesn't make driving fun. You're just a dickhead. So, yeah, look, I would love to see the government come and say, here are the facts, here is the data, here is what we're doing to prevent it, and here are the results, right? That's what we have to do in business. You can't improve unless you measure. And so we need this sort of thing.
James Ward, gee, I enjoyed that chat. There was so much other content we needed to get through. What about...
Yeah, we'll do it again. We'll do it again next week.
We'll do it again next week, but please give James, how do people contact you?
Ask Drive at drive.com.au. You can get to me direct, or they can email you and we can talk about it on the show. And again, I love to hear from people who choose not to wear a seatbelt. And I'll tell you, I'll give you a list. I'll even send you a poem of how stupid you are for choosing not to wear a seatbelt, because in 2026, that's ridiculous.
James Ward.
Start listening to Bonafide. It's a really good podcast show. Available on Spotify. It's a really good download. Stop apologizing for missing an episode. Time is short, life is good. It's time for us to turn to a hardcore man cave.
Tiger got hit by a car and killed. And they brought in another dog from a shelter that looked just like Tiger, but it didn't work. And
Such useless information, Luke.
I know, I'm full of shit.
It will help at a trivia night.
Nikki goes to a trivia night every Thursday down at the Pittwater RSL. And there's a prize, not for coming last, it's second last, because people will throw it to come last.
Yeah. Anyway, come on.
So she's very proud. They get a bottle of wine and a voucher or something for coming second last, but there's no prize for last.
Good.
I know, this is actually content, isn't it? So welcome to the Man Cave here on the Bonafide podcast. We have a cast of thousands. We have in your right speaker. Are people listening to this in stereo, Kelsey, or is it all mono? Okay, in the right speaker...
There's no such thing as mono anymore.
It's stereo.
When I listen to my music in the Man Cave, it's a sound bar and a subby, so it's mono.
Oh, wow.
But anyway...
Come on, you're already diverging.
I'm going bing bong. Adam McDonald, welcome back, Vice Captain. How are you, brother?
Yeah, good to be on board. It's a full cave tonight, so good to be here.
It is a full cave. We have producer Thomas, the Tank Engine Denham, who's with us again, one of the producers of the podcast. Hello to you, Tomboy.
Very good to be here, as always.
Yeah, well, we hope you contribute today. And we have Scotty Phillips from the Motley Fool also with us today. And can you believe it? There's 5 of us. The Millenial is in the house.
Wow.
So welcome to all of you. We want to talk about something boring, but something that affects all of us shortly, Scotty, and that is the Reserve Bank putting up interest rates again yesterday. Who it affects, who doesn't it affect. We'll do that in a second. Vice Captain Adam McDonald, expert in memorabilia, star of the TV show Aussie Pickers, which you can still get in discount bins at Blockbuster.
Yep.
There's no Blockbusters anymore.
I found the double CD in JV Hi-Fi in the budget bin.
How much was it?
I think it was $9.95 or something like that. It was
you
pretty
should have
cheap.
bought 3 of them and given yourself a royalty.
Yeah. I wish I got royalties.
Anyway, good to be with you. First of all, Vice Captain, what did you sell this week? What are you looking for?
What I'm looking for, I've got a huge collection of vintage Lego coming in. Now, Lego, it's cross-generational, but this collection that I've seen is like from probably the late 80s, all brand new in box, never opened. So if there's a Lego fan out there, have a look at Eva in the next couple of weeks, ehva.com.au. We'll have it listed, but it's a wonderful collection of Lego, all brand new, all in the box, and vintage stuff. Discontinued lines, the lot. Great stuff.
So vintage Lego's worth obviously a fair bit, and the rest of us can jump in here. Lego was actually founded, can you believe it, in 1932.
Yeah.
That's how far back Lego goes, by old Kirk Christensen. It was invented in Denmark. Can you believe that? So,
well, yeah, it's like very IKEA-esque, isn't it?
It is. It's like the early
that's
flat
Swedish.
I know, but same-samer.
It's Nordic.
Yeah, the same-samer.
Yeah, just don't tell that to Donald Trump, because he'll annex the whole of Denmark now.
Yeah.
Plus Iceland and Greenland, Tasmania.
The collectability of this early Lego is massive. We did a sale last year. I think it was the beginning of last year, and there was one box. It was all it was a train engine, and that was it. And it was made in Mexico, and it got $800. And it was just like it was one piece, a tiny little box, $800. So these discontinued lines and rare lines of Lego are worth. There is a huge market for it.
Yeah. For everyone that's ever trod on a piece of Lego at 2:00 in the morning in bare feet on the way to the toilet, you'll know how impressive Lego is today.
Sturdy.
Question for you, Adam. Was there a stage in the history of Lego? There's obviously been several, and I'm sure you could provide examples, but was there a stage where there was a particular range or IP that made Lego boom the way it has?
No, I think it's been a slow burn because it's cross-generational, you know, like the early the 70s and 80s stuff were like Cowboys and Indians and Cops and Robbers and stuff like that. But now moving forward, Wonder Boy got a Star Wars Lego for Christmas. That's like, it's almost 1.5 meters long. Like, it's massive. And the Lego these days are so detailed and so precise of what they're making. It's cross-generational. So I think it's just been a slow burn and just a constant favourite with both. And the other thing, it's both boys and girls, men and women. It's not just like Tonka trucks or Barbie dolls. I think that's why Lego's so popular, because it is cross-generational and for both boys and girls.
But it's literally on another planet now, isn't it? Because, I mean, you look at, for example, the Star Wars Lego models are unbelievable. Scotty Phillips, you make people money for a living. People invest with Motley Fool and you turn their money into more money. Would you invest in Lego? Would you invest in rare toys like that?
Not directly, Matt, but I wouldn't advise them not to. And it kind of comes out of my level of expertise, honestly, Matt. So everything can make money if you buy it cheap enough and there's enough demand and future for it. And that sounds obvious, but also pretty motherhood, and it's true. Adam would know better than me what the value of some of those collectibles are. It's not my expertise, right? So I wouldn't say don't do it. What I would say is separate the emotion from the rational investment case. So if you love Lego, great. That doesn't mean it's going to be collectible. Doesn't mean it's not going to be collectible. Just don't do it because you love it. I mean, if you like it, do it for yourself, knock yourself out. If you're trying to make money, you'd need to kind of put that investment lens on it, which is things Adam's talked about. Discontinued stock, high demand stuff. They're not making any more of it. I mean, that's one of the great things about some of these collectibles. And again, it's not my area of expertise, but if you can find something, old cars, right? They go through the roof at some point. So I find it hard to forecast the future value of some of that stuff. So I'm just like, I don't know. And in investing, the other thing is it's okay to say, I don't know. People like me get paid to sound smart on TV and radio and on your podcast and pretend we know the answer to all these things. Only the honest ones will say, I don't know when they don't know. I'm not trying to big myself up. It's just the reality, right? So I am absolutely sure collecting the right things over the right period of time can give you a really, really nice return.
Yeah, but you just said something really interesting. And Thomas, I think we all have an opinion on this. If you go to a second-hand store, for example, and you see something that you can picture in your house or something that you've been looking for at memorabilia, old sporting goods that bring back memories from your childhood, it's easy to lead with your heart because your head will convince you that that thing that you want for you is going to be worth something when maybe it's not.
Absolutely. Like I was literally in a op shop the other day just kind of looking through what books they have because I'm a purveyor of ephemera and love that kind of stuff. It's going to have a more emotional value for me because it's stuff that I grew up with. It has that memory kind of core attachment, but for someone else, it's going to be worth nothing.
Yeah, so we've heard it here first. Thomas is a ephemerant purveyor. So there we are.
When you're in this game, like if I find something that I know that's going to hold their money, like a pop head or a Pokemon card, what these companies do, they make limited runs. So therefore, it becomes an instant collectible. That therefore they're not knocking out thousands and thousands of them. They'll knock out 100. That makes it collectible. That makes it worthwhile. That makes it valuable. I hate those sort of collectibles, but if I think I can make money on it, I'm in. Like, I'm not just going to walk away. I don't do Pokemon cards. It's cash money. So you've got to keep your eyes open, but you've got to try and keep your heart closed because once you start Once you start buying stuff with your heart instead of your head, that's when you're not going to be earning any money.
You're in trouble. I remember talking to a bloke who was in the used car business for many, many years, and I said, have you ever bought a car to sell on your yard and gone, I can't get rid of this, I like it too much? He said, nah, I'm here to make money.
Well, I think that's the decision I made when I came down to Canberra, because when I was living in Sydney, I had that big house with a big garage, and I was just dragging shit back there willy-nilly just to keep it. But now I'm in a top-floor apartment. I don't have anything. I'm literally here to collect cash.
Yeah, you are a hoarder, a potential hoarder.
I was, yes.
Dangerous. I just wanted to move on to something that's on the front of our minds today. The Reserve Bank lifted interest rates by 0.25 percentage points.
Boo.
The new cash rate's 3.85%, up from 3.6%. And Scotty Phillips is our expert in this area. Scotty, looking through the papers this morning, every newspaper is blaming Jim Chalmers, the Treasurer, saying, and I noticed Pauline Hanson yesterday said that the reason we have the interest rate hike is because of the government's spending, and that's caused inflation. Is that a fair comment? What causes inflation, and why, when inflation is kind of getting out of control, do we have to put interest rates up? It's to stop people spending. But these figures come from the financial figures from late last year. And let's have a look at late last year. We are all encouraged to spend on Black Friday sales. And the next thing around the corner is Christmas, where we're all encouraged to spend. So, Scotty, can you please shed some sensible light on the Reserve Bank's decision and why it's happened?
There's a lot there, Luke, and I think if you really break down what's actually happened, the government's got a lot of blame, but not for the reason most people are saying. There's inflation around the world, so let's not pretend it's an Australian-only issue. And the outbreak of inflation and the persistence of inflation is also a global issue. And it goes back, frankly, to the previous government. And so let's not try and make this about Liberal, Labor, or this government or that government. And even for the RBA, who basically said on Tuesday, hey, private demand is stronger, in other words, money we're spending, is stronger than they thought it would be, and that's why inflation is higher than they thought it would be, and that's why they're making a decision now, rather than before, to raise rates. So that's the fact, right? So let's separate that bit. Where the government is absolutely, totally, and completely responsible, and I will say almost to the point of culpability, is not taking sufficient action at the time to make a difference. To actually say, you know what, we see there's inflation. Whatever the cause, we need to put our oar in the water and try and make a difference, try and make it happen, try and fix the problem. And what they haven't done is done the right thing and said, we will cut spending. We will increase taxes, whatever version of that combination you like. The government is spending deficit spending. They're taking $9 out of the economy, putting $10 back in because they're taking taxes and they're using spending. So that's stimulating the economy. It's increasing demand. At the same time as the Reserve's trying to suck money out desperately, the Reserve's pulled the plug out of the bath and the government's just turned the tap on. And so you've got this policy working both ways, and it's madness, absolute madness. The RBA knows inflation is too high. The government knows inflation is too high. Only one of them is actually doing something about it, and that's the RBA. The government says we're doing everything we can to help. And I've said to you, and I've said to plenty of other people for 18 months, Jim Chalmers keeps saying we're working with the RBA to deal with inflation. And my single question, never, ever, ever, ever had an answer from anybody, is what is the government specifically doing to reduce inflation? Now, the politics is cost of living. So they say, we're providing cost of living support, cost of living relief. What does that mean? It means they're throwing us money to wallpaper over the problem. And some people need that money. So I'm not even saying it's wrong necessarily to help people who desperately need it right now because they are just sinking. But the cause of inflation is excess spending, not enough supply, price goes up, supply doesn't move, that's what you expect. The government needs to then say, this is a really serious problem. The RBA is doing its bit, we're going to do our bit as well. That's just not. And that's incredibly. If you're listening with a mortgage right now, you really should be pissed off, frankly, because the government's saying they're doing these things. It's not about Liberal, Labor, I don't care. But they're saying they're trying to help. They're doing nothing to help. And the Reserve Bank's saying, well, I guess I've got to put rates up then. They are the goalkeeper at the end of the field. The government's off doing lunches.
Scotty, a comment that I keep seeing like over and over again is, I know why. It's just we live in a capitalistic society.
Yeah.
Why is raising interest rates the only way we can curb inflation?
Yep.
I know the answer, but I've seen this question. Well, it's capitalism at its finest. I mean, supply and demand, right? Like that's just the way that the world works.
Yes.
But I've seen that comment over and over again. So just quickly, explain why. I mean, first of all, is that true? And second of all, why?
So I love this how you say just quickly, mate. I'll try and keep it quick.
Because Kelsey, by the way, Kelsey and Nathan have a mortgage.
Yeah.
How much extra a month have you worked out is this going to cost you?
That's a question for Nathan.
Okay, all right. But Kelsey and Nathan, young couple about to get married, they have a mortgage and they're hurting.
And mate, that's why I'm frankly pissed off. $100 a month is the increase on the average Australian mortgage. $150 a month on $1 million mortgage. Kelsey, you can do her own maths on that basis. That's how much it's going to cost. Now, Kelsey, you asked the question. So why is interest the only tool? It's absolutely not. And you know that, right? So for our listeners and viewers, it's absolutely not the only tool. It's the only tool being used. Okay, and that's why I'm so bloody annoyed is the government's got millions of tools. They could use the GST, they could use income tax, they could use superannuation contributions, vary those up and down. They could use infrastructure spending, they could use welfare spending, they could use a million. The government's got a million tools, and they can make them as fine or as blunt as they want to make them. I will make Scott pay tax, but Luke doesn't have to. I'll make Luke and Tom pay tax, but Adam doesn't have to. I can spend more money on Luke, I can spend less money on Tom, I can spend more money on Kelsey. I can do whatever. I'm government, right? And they're doing literally nothing. That's why it's so bloody frustrating. So why is it the only tool? Because the RBA is the only adult in the room. The rest of them, Liberal and Labor, both too busy playing politics. They're not going to, Liberals not going to do anything different either because they want to try and buy votes, right? They're not going to be honest and responsible and do what actually needs to be done. They're going to say, oh, don't look at me. Look over there at Michelle Bullock. She's the bad lady who's making your mortgage more expensive. And we all go, oh, okay, that sucks, but okay, I guess that's what has to happen. And it's absolutely not, mate. So everyone listening and watching, it's absolutely not necessary for the RBA to move rates if the government did more. And very quickly to answer your question with numbers, Chris Richardson, great economist, really good bloke, by the way, did some numbers. A 0.25% rate hike, the one we had on Tuesday. That's the equivalent of taking $10 billion of spending out of the economy. In other words, if the government cuts spending by $10 billion, they'd still be running a deficit budget, by the way, still stimulating, but that would have effectively negated the need for a rate hike on Tuesday. So that is the very, very clear basic numbers. Government refuses to, so the RBA has to. And Kelsey, you're getting whacked, and it is a disgrace because people out there who don't have a mortgage aren't paying a cent. People with money in the bank, they're getting more, right? The average retiree, and I'm not bagging the retirees, they're going to get more money. Come next month, they're like, I got more interest. I guess I'll go and spend more money then. And so we're trying to take money out of the economy or we put it back in somewhere else.
But if the banks do follow through very quickly and raise their interest rates on loans, surely they are obligated then to also pass on that interest rate hike to people with savings.
And they will. And they will. So bank
margins... The Macquarie Bank did this morning.
Yeah, bank margins over the last 10 years have actually declined. So we all hate the banks and with decent justification for a million different reasons. One thing we do know about the banks, I'm not a bank shareholder, I'm not going to defend them. One thing we know about the banks is their margins have decreased over the last decade. So they're not profiteering. The money's going to the depositors, it's going to the wholesale money markets, going somewhere else. But yeah, Kelsey's dead right. There is no need for this to be the case. Kelsey, you mentioned supply and demand too, very quickly. Over time, supply and demand even out, right? When the price goes up, we either buy less of it or suppliers produce more of it. And so prices find their level. And that's one of the great things about capitalism. Like we see it as a horrible thing, and it can be at the extremes where it's really messy and ugly and whatever.
Well, it relies on poor people to stay poor, essentially.
Oh, man.
That's the evil part about capitalism.
Yeah, totally. That's a whole other question. We can talk about that. I'm very happy to, by the way, but I don't want to derail the whole conversation. But on rates specifically, or inflation specifically, prices will find their own level. If bananas go up, you buy apples instead. The price of bananas will come down eventually because the banana growers want to entice you to buy. Or someone else will plant banana trees. More bananas, the price comes down because there's more supply. Over time, that works. In the short term,
but we also have bad actors, though. We also have people like artificially inflating house price, especially in America.
Yeah, absolutely.
Artificially inflating bloody, stock prices, and then people buy and then sell or whatever.
100%.
Anyway.
So no. And I don't want to. I'm not saying. So there's some really crappy parts of capitalism, and then frankly, there's some really distorted parts that aren't proper capitalism. They're just kind of bastardizations. And I'd love to have. Let's have that chat at some point. So you're absolutely right, Kelsey. I'm not trying to.
We should have the great capitalism debate.
Yeah, we should.
No, not today.
Not today. Not today. Not today.
That's the answer on rates. That's the answer on rates.
Because today the share price of Lego has gone through the roof, and we have done that artificially here on our own.
Well, I'll tell you what, that sort of inflation happens a lot in the art world. So if you're an up-and-coming artist, you put an artwork up for auction, you buy it back for $200. You put another one up, you buy it back for $400. You put another one up, you buy it back for $1,000. All of a sudden, you're a registered artist that's worth $1,000 at auction. You know, all this self-inflation happens. But I'll tell you what happens in the art world, and I saw it happen to, I won't mention the artist's name, but I went to high school with them.
Ooh,
and they were a sculptor that made beautiful big bronze sculptures, and an auction house did it to them, and they just bought back and sold these massive big bronzes. The market got so inflated, it burst, and now she's not worth anything. So when you do that sort of stuff, it's like a balloon. You can only blow it up so much before it's going to burst, and you're going to level out again.
All right, interesting stuff. Please leave us your comments and thoughts. You've got a question, leave a voice message 0291289311, and we'll pass on your messages. lukebonaradioguy@gmail.com. Just while we're on the cost of living, and it's an interesting story that is out at the moment, and that is the high price of sending our kids to school. And I've got a question, and I'd love you all to jump in on this. Is private school worth it? And a public school, which is taxpayer funded, a story came out yesterday that it costs the average family between $5,000 and $10,000 to send your kids to a free school, when you take into account excursions, private tutoring, and the list goes on. Now, private schools, some of them charge $40,000 a year, some $50,000, some $60,000. And yet I did some research, and the academic pros and cons don't add up. We don't see kids getting top scores in the HSC that come from exclusively private schools. The public school system's doing really, really well at NAPLAN and doing very well when it comes to the HSC. So is private school worth it? I guess it is if you go to school with someone from a very influential family and that old school tie sort of...
That's the words.
I mean, if you went to school and were mates with James Packer at school, chances are you've got a pretty good contact in life. So, so Kelsey's got her hand up first. Is private school worth it?
I've got a couple points here. It depends on the child, first of all. If your kid needs extra resources and that extra time and attention, then sure, absolutely. But it is known that kids that go to university that come from private schools have a harder time at university because they're used to having a silver spoon in their mouth. They're used to somebody feeding them the information, coaxing them through the answers, where kids that go to public school, get to year 11 and 12 and the teachers are really good. I mean, at my school, they were really good, but you do a lot of that stuff yourself. You succeed by yourself. So there's pros and cons, but I wouldn't send my kids to private school unless I had a kid that really needed the extra attention.
Who wants to go next? Is private school worth it?
I will. I think, like Kelly said, depends on the kid, and it depends on what sort of vocation you want to move into. So if you want to move into the business world and the high end banking world, you need that old school tie. Like, if you're going for a job, if I'm going for a job and then, Robert Smith's going for a job and Robert Smith went to King's and I went to Crowe Boys High, they're going to get the job because he's a King's school and the executives from the King's school, he's got the old school tie. So I think it's got to massively where you want to move into, because that private school old school tie, it's a thing. Like, it's a huge thing.
Yeah. Isn't it interesting, though? And Thomas or Scotty, one of you can jump in with this. One thing I've noticed over many years of being in this broadcast caper is that when somebody does something wrong and makes the papers or has their face on the news at night because they've done a DUI, they've assaulted somebody, they've sexually assaulted somebody, it doesn't matter. If that person, the accused, is at school and goes to a private school, they always say, John Smith, private school student John Smith. They never say public school student Tom Denham. They don't even mention that, but they always put before the child's name the fact that he or she went to private school if they've done something wrong. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, absolutely.
So they should.
Yeah. It's very easy to create a smear campaign for a private school if you wanted to do anything of the caliber that you just discussed. I used to be a teaching assistant and worked across a number of public schools, private schools, primary, secondary schools, and the private schools I worked at, and I don't think it's by any ill intention of anyone involved, but it's amazing how kids particularly that feel a little bit on the outer, feel a little bit ostracized, not by anyone's decision, but just by the culture that's set in those schools. So I think that's where specialist schools and some public schools are a little bit better, I reckon.
Yeah, but you always seem to be, they always say private school student John Smith sexually assaulted somebody, or
is it because the public school, they think, well, of course he did it because he's from a public school, so it's a bit of an outrage if the privately educated kid does it,
or is it putting in the mind of the viewer or the listener, they should have known better, they should have been raised better because they went to a private school. Scotty Phillips, do you get your money's worth at a private school?
I hope so. My kid goes to a private school down in Barrel. So I'm wasting my money if I'm not. Mate, I reckon, look, we've all said it's horses for course, and I think that's absolutely true. We sent our kid to a private school because we figured that maybe it helps, maybe it doesn't, and if we had the means, then giving him a chance is probably worthwhile. I say that at the same time as I think public schools are horribly underfunded, right? And so I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth very, very consciously here. The resourcing for private schools is much better than public schools. And that is frankly a national issue, policy issue that we should address. Because I'm going, well, I know that school over there's got that, and that school over there's got that, and I want my kid to have an opportunity to do that stuff, so I'm going to send him there. That's kind of what we did. That's a real world example of what we decided to do. We had the ability to send him to a private school. If we had 2 kids, we probably couldn't have afforded it, but 1 kid was fine. And it's a little private school in Barrel. It's not a bloody King school or anything else. And it was just literally a case of, well, we don't know, but is there a chance you're going to get a better opportunity at the private school with the extra resources? Probably. So we'll do that. And that's really selfish, but also kind of as a parent, I don't think it's unreasonable. I don't think anyone who has the opportunity to give their kids a start would say, no, I don't want to. I'll make sure he's level pegging with everybody else. So it's unreasonable and unfair at a societal level. I'm a massive fan of the Gonski reforms. We should absolutely be funding public schools a whole lot better. Here's the other thing, by the way, more than half of, I think it's New South Wales, it might even be national now, kids go to private schools. So we've kind of crossed that Rubicon, right, where the majority are now private educated, at least at high school. And that changes how we think about schools, how we think about school funding. So I really do worry about the public system in terms of, when everyone goes there,
stop giving all the
everyone's got an
money to
interest in it.
private schools. It always baffled me how there's so much money poured into private schools because parents can fund them.
Yep.
And good on you, if you can afford a bloody basketball stadium, whatever it is, fantastic, good on you. But then why some private schools get more funding than public schools?
I agree,
and it baffles me.
No, I agree. That's what I'm
Makes
saying.
me so angry.
I'm talking about both sides of my mouth, mate. I'm absolutely happy to send my kid there because I think he's going to get a good chance at a good start. There's no old school tie. It's not that older school and, whatever. It was just a little local private school here. We thought, well, we could, so we wanted to. But you're 100% right. It should not be at the expense of public schools. That we don't. It's unconscionable. The money we throw at some of the really expensive private schools, and we don't support public schools enough. They have a gap on their funding based on what they actually need. By the way, private schools also do better because they can choose their students. So you look at the results you mentioned, Luke, before. That's part of the issue is you get to choose who goes there. Do you want the kid with extra needs? Well, no, so let's get rid of that kid. What about the stupid kid? No, we don't want him either. Let's get rid of him. And I'm being deliberately provocative here, but the reality is they are managing their cohort in a lot of cases, not all, in a lot of cases, to make sure they look good on NAPLAN. Why? Because you recruit the best kids. You give out sports scholarships, you give out academic scholarships, you're tilting the scales in terms of what the school looks like, not even how much value you're adding. Just if I get the brightest kids in year 7, I'll probably get the brightest kids in year 12. Wow, how amazing is School X? They've done a wonderful job. Have they? Or have they just got the kids that do better, and so it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy?
By the way, I hope your child's private school in Barrel is a little bit better than the one I went to in Barrel.
Yes, we're aware.
Talk about that after.
Yeah. I hope he turns out a lot better, Scotty Phillips. I hope you are good. There is also a perception that the quality of teaching is better because the teachers are more accountable, that they're harder to sack, and that they're under scrutiny. And if their students don't perform, they can be sacked. There is that perception. I don't know if it's true or not.
Did you hear about that teacher that was at a private Catholic school, and whilst he was teaching, he divorced his wife and, was seeing somebody else, and he lost his job because you can't be divorced in the Catholic Church. So he lost his job and he took it to court because he was living with somebody that he wasn't married to. And it's in the courts as we speak.
Really?
Yeah, literally.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, they're out of control. I will say, I have a little bit of experience with the education sector through a relative, and you're right. It's absolutely easier to hire, fire, promote in private schools. And we can talk education policy later, but the limitations on public school principals, who they can choose, who they can hire, who gets to come to their school. The large departments, if you're a teachers union member, you're probably saying, well, I deserve it, I want it. The public school principals are massively hamstrung in terms of what they can do on staffing, and that's a massive issue for them, and it's a massive issue for the system. I don't have all the answers, but until you give principals a bit more autonomy and they can actually take action against underperforming teachers, you're going to have ongoing challenges in the system, unfortunately.
The Man Cave on the Bonafide podcast coming up very soon, a segment that I've invented. It's called Let's Muddle the Millenial. Kelsey, you are going to be in
And Thomas, that's why I invited Thomas here, because
Oh, yeah.
he's on my side.
You know, I didn't say anything about having teams. This is you. I didn't know that.
Well, you can conspire behind the scenes, so can I.
No.
Well, you can probably have 2 teams of 2, and because I sort of sit in the middle of this,
True.
'cause I'm right in the middle.
I'm no help to you.
I can be a referee.
Okay, let's muddle the millennial coming up in just a second. Just something else that I saw in the news, and I wanted to get your opinions on this. Is this un-Australian? We're talking about the cost of living. There's a story about a Brisbane local who went online and took aim at the price of pizza at a local takeaway joint. Sunnyside Sliced, a cult Melbourne pizza joint known for its premium pricing, has opened in Newstead. Pizzas, guys, range from $52 to $80, and slices, just a slice of pizza.
What are they putting on it?
Just a slice of pizza starts at $7. Guys, is that too much to pay for a pizza? What are your thoughts?
Depends what's on it.
Yeah, what is on it? Can you...
Abalone.
Oh, well, that makes sense.
Tasmanian
king crab. Yeah.
Anyone who puts abalone on a pizza deserves to lose their money, because
Isn't abalone the most overrated piece of shit in the world? It tastes like
Never
rubber,
had it.
and it's $100 a kilo.
Never had it.
It's a mollusk, and it is just the worst thing. But anyway,
Are they
keep
putting
going.
truffles on there as well?
Surely. They got to have gold flakes or something on. Who wants to eat this? Who has the money to spend $70 on a pizza? Not me, I can tell you that much.
Not me.
They've got the Sunnyside cheese, the upside down cheese, pepperoni classic, hella honey. What?
How much? Hang on. Go back. How much is the pepperoni classic?
For a slice?
Yes.
$7.52.
Oh, kill me now.
Red truffle is $8.58 a slice.
Oh.
New Mexico, $9.20.
This better be the biggest slice of pizza I've ever seen in my life.
They've got white truffle. They've got a white truffle. This is a slice, $10.80 a slice.
That is insane.
Well, I guess you don't go there then.
But people are going there because they want the Instagram and the TikTok videos of look at this fancy pizza. I reckon they should be taxed more for raising inflation.
There probably should be an Instagram tax in general, just quietly. That'd sort some people out.
Absolutely.
But do you remember the old Pizza Hut days, the all-you-can-eat?
Oh, yeah. So
With
good. The
salad bar.
pizza bar. Oh,
And
so
the soft
good.
serve machine.
Oh, so good.
Oh, how good was that?
But I feel like a lot of people got sick at those places.
Well, I remember when the Pizza Hut first opened on the northern beaches, it was at the Ringa Mall, right? And it was a restaurant, and they had red and white checked tablecloths, a candle in a black metal holder, and there was no all you can eat. You ordered your pizza and you had it at the table.
That's right.
Do you remember that?
They brought in the big metal dishes too and put it down in front of you, the thin and crispy or the pan pizza. Yeah, absolutely.
Well
Sounds taking me
done.
back.
And then there was, of course, Sizzler, famous for its cheese bread. What was that? I never had it.
Do you remember the jingle? 948111111. Pizza Hut delivery.
How does it go?
948111111. Pizza Hut delivery.
Well, Kelsey, it started without
They
the
did
9.
the 401. That's right.
Just 48111, and then they had to introduce the 9 because we're running out of numbers.
Or the Domino's
Had
one.
to
I've got
add
the
an
hots
extra
for the
nine.
what's in the box with the dots. Domino's, as you might remember.
Oh, very good. And KFC, and Hugo said you go, and I said no, you go. And soon he was back with the pack, and we sat in the back, and then Dad hit the track,
Wow,
and we
you
sat
are
in the
old,
back,
aren't you?
feeling better inside. A drive
Okay,
isn't
that's enough.
funny with an empty tummy.
Luke,
Thank goodness for Kentucky Fried.
Well done.
Gee whiz, I don't know that
Just
one.
a very quick story. I live in a part of Sydney that has, you won't believe it, 3 pizza shops on the one road, all in very close proximity of each other. And I always go to the one. I know it's not the best one, but I go because the customer service is fantastic.
That's cool.
And they remember my
How
name.
much a slice? How much for an individual slice?
They don't do by the slice, but for a pizza,
that's right.
For a pizza, $25.
You don't buy pizza by the slice. You don't put pineapple on pizza.
You do.
And
Yes,
you
you
don't put onion.
You do so.
No, you don't.
No pineapple. I'm with you, Vice Captain.
Oh, boo.
No pineapple.
This is one thing Luke and I will agree on.
Come on.
It's not
When the pub
Italian.
up the road, the Terry Hills Tavern, did its big renovations, this is years ago, and they opened a wood
Pizza
fire
bar,
pizza
yeah.
bar. And they refused to put pineapple on any of their pizzas. And the pizzas were quite good, but they didn't. Said, Kelsey, tell them what I used to do.
Bring a can of pineapple.
I used to bring my own little can of Golden Circle. I used to put it in Nikki's handbag, and I had the small.
Very embarrassing, but
It's
justified.
like taking sardines with you.
Don't give him any ideas because he would do that.
They shouldn't put anchovies in the pizza.
No.
Yeah.
No
Guys,
anchovies, no
what's the
pineapple.
dumbest thing you've done out on the drink? By the way, always drink responsibly. I cannot believe this story about a man who got into a drama with a barmaid at a bar in Melbourne. He apparently yelled at the barmaid, "Open the effing beer." Anyway, he's been ejected.
Of course.
And he's gone outside to throw a chair at the bouncer. But,
Oh, yes, I saw this.
but the chair's gone nowhere near the bouncer and it's hit his best mate and
the
knocked him
head.
out.
They brained him. You see him fall down? I mean, I hope the bloke's okay, but he absolutely brained him. That guy just hit the ground
Oh,
like
yeah.
a sack of spuds.
Did you see the reaction of the bouncer?
He was laughing. Yeah, he was
He was
hacking.
absolutely laughing his head off.
What an idiot.
It's just a
What
show for them
an
every night.
absolute
What do you
idiot.
say? What do you say to your mate the next day?
I know. Well, one of the dumbest things I've done on the drink is
Always drink responsibly.
Yeah, always drink responsibly. And this was the day before I met Nathan's parents for the first time. Me and my friends thought it'd be a great idea to just go wander around the streets while we were all a bit pissed. And I saw a parked boat and I got up on the boat and pretended I was Jack Sparrow and then fell off the boat onto concrete and then had a massive gash on my head and then had to go. I don't know what
That explains you a bit now.
I don't know what I told Nathan's parents about why I had a massive gash on my head, but
I like how you're trying to be Jack Sparrow.
Can any of you top that?
I used to go to art school and I went to a very hoity-toity bar in Carlton in Melbourne, and I convinced someone I was an associate professor of modern art, trying to give this bullshit story, and then I left the bar and threw up in the alleyway.
oh god,
That's a great story.
I think it was my 45th. The Mexican wrestling came to town. The Mexican wrestlers. So me and a mate and our partners dressed up as Mexican wrestlers. So I had a pair of tights on, a pair of my partner's short shorts, and her one-piece swimsuit. I had my face painted, and I had a cape.
oh my!
So we
God.
rock up to this Mexican. I'll send you photos. It's
Please send the photos.
We want the photo. Go
We'll put it on the subscriber page, Adam, so then it's not out in the public.
We get to the wrestling and the line's like, it's a half an hour wait to get in. So we just walk straight up the front. And I said, man, I'm here to wrestle. Can we come straight in? And they're just like, yes, come straight in.
my God.
So we waltz in, and then all night, I just go up to the bar and say, listen, I'm just about to get in the ring. Can I have 4 gin and tonics?
Oh,
and they would
my
just serve
God.
me for free. All night it went on. It was absolutely wonderful. I'll send you the photo now.
That's got to be the most legendary thing.
No,
I was going
there's
to
a
say,
really
we're
good
supposed to be
story.
embarrassing stories. That's a great one.
Oh, I've got a million embarrassing stories. Let's just stick to the
What was
wrestling.
your alter ego, Adam? Again, what was your alter ego's name?
Richie Mack.
Yeah, Richie Mack. That's Adam's alter ego when he's on the drink. There's a great story about a couple that were backpacking around the world and they got to the United States where everything is really expensive. And he proposed to his girlfriend in this pub, in the bar. And everyone went, yay, because she said yes and bought them drinks all night. And they thought, this is a rort. So everywhere they went around the United States, they would go into a bar and he would get down on his knee and propose.
Yeah, nice.
And they never had to buy a drink for the rest of their trip.
That's just smart. That's just good budgeting.
There you go. I just send the photo to you, Kels.
Fantastic. Let me look at this. Here we go. Oh
Gives a look.
my God.
Oh, jeez.
Show it in the camera. Show it in the camera here.
Oh, dear.
Oh, there he is.
That's part The Incredibles, part Wonder Woman, part Robin. A bit of Batman and Robin going there, actually.
It was a mixture.
Yeah.
That is so good, Adam. That is the best.
Mate, that looks like the fat guy from The Invincibles.
I see a bit of Dr. Robotnik there, Adam.
Right, drum roll, please.
Drum roll. Insert drum roll here, please, Kelsey. Okay. So the Minister for War and Finance and myself, both of us...
You've got like 18 pages there.
No, I'm only going to give you a couple. But we were talking about something, and I'll tell you what it was in a second. And we both looked at each other, and I said, there's no way Kelsey would know what we're talking about there. So it planted a seed, because you know I'm a thinker, Thomas, right? I'm an ideas man.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I thought this could be a segment on the Man Cave, but it can also, at the same time, help belittle Kelsey. So I've come up with an idea. It's a segment called Let's Muddle the Millenial.
Yes.
And so I've come up with some typical things that we used to say in the 1970s. Now, I've sent this list to you guys, so hopefully you've had a look at it. Just so people don't think I am harassing you. Next week, you can turn the tables and we can call it Let's Bamboozle the Baby Boomer.
Yeah. Well, that'd be pretty easy. Or just make you set up the studio by yourself.
Kelsey, I'm going to ask you a question.
Yeah.
You must answer within 3 seconds.
Oh, okay.
What you think the answer is. You can't just.
Okay, so
you can't
rapid fire.
You can't pass.
Okay.
Adam, can you keep score?
Yep.
Kelsey, Menzies, your time starts now. What were the yellow pages?
Telephone books.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
It was specifically for business.
Oh, yeah, the same thing. Telephone books.
I didn't think you'd get that.
Yeah, I'll give it.
I get it. She gets that. What was a Rolodex?
That is where you keep the cards of, names of people, like address books and stuff.
Wow.
I know. Look, I'm smart.
What was the Gregory's?
A mountain range.
What was the Gregory's? A mountain range, Adam. Kelsey, what was burning a CD?
Oh, that was when you copied it, essentially.
In the 70s, what was a pash?
A kiss.
Oh, God, you're killing it.
Luke, these are so easy.
What was 3 on the tree?
3 on the tree is when you would scull 3 beers.
Back in the day, cars had 3 pedals. What were those pedals?
Accelerator, brake, and the clutch.
In what, from left to right, which was which?
Oh, I don't know. Clutch, accelerator, brake. Clutch, brake, accelerator.
What does BMX stand for?
Well, it's a bike. Big machine, X-rated. I don't know.
What was a vanilla slice?
Oh, what do you mean? A vanilla slice is like a custard slice. Delicious. A snot rocket. A snot bar.
What was a popular glue that we used at school that you could also eat?
Elmer's.
It was in a purple container.
Elmer's. Or was it the glue stick? The gluey.
Why couldn't Rob's face be shown on TV when he was advertising a product?
Rob who?
He was a dentist.
Because he had an ugly face.
Thomas, shut the
He had an ugly face.
Oh, Thomas is your partner, I forgot.
Oh, yeah, Thomas.
Yeah, so we'll give that.
If you skipped school without permission, what were you doing?
Wagging.
All right. It's backfired. You've done very, very well.
Yeah, Luke.
You got 8. How many questions did you ask?
I don't know. I'll give you one more. This is your last one. Who was Norm and what was his what campaign was he the face of? Who was Norm and what campaign was he the face of?
Oh, I feel like I know Norm. He was Home and Away? I don't know.
Okay.
Norm, was he he was the puppet thing, wasn't he? Oh no. Aardvark?
Way
thing?
off.
I don't know.
All right. Adam, we'll leave it there. How did she go?
She did all right. She got 8 questions right. How many did you ask?
I don't know. The Gregory's, a mountain range.
Well, yeah, I don't know what that is.
The Gregory's was a book of maps. Now,
Nah. Well, it was kind of right. It was kind of right.
You were nowhere near. So you opened the Gregory's and instead of a GPS, you had to follow a map. Do you remember that, guys?
Yes.
In Victoria, we had Melways.
UBD in Sydney, for those who remember that one.
Yeah. And men were we had a Gregory's or a Sidway, but Gregory's was first. And girls would turn it round and drive like this. They would hold it at different angles as they were driving.
Yeah.
But you had to go, you looked up the name of the street.
Yeah.
Then you went to, it would tell you what page.
Yeah.
Then it would say A52.
Yeah, I know, Luke. I don't need the full diagram. I was alive when these were around. And Luke, next week you've got to beat 8, and I've got to say you've got no chance in hell. You're going to have to do some proper research.
You did very, very well. Okay, I thought that
You're going to spend the week on TikTok trying to brush up.
Yeah, exactly.
I am very, very impressed with Yellow Pages because that's long gone.
I was around when that was still a thing.
What about BMX?
What is that? What does it stand
Bicycle
for?
motocross?
Exactly, Adam.
What did I don't know. I said
bicycle
something.
motocross.
Bicycle motocross. And the Gregory's. Kelsey, outstanding.
Thank you.
Good effort.
Rob was a dentist, so you couldn't show his face. The voiceover artist was Lawsy.
Oh.
This is Rob. We can't show you his face because he's a dentist. It was Oral B.
You should have done the smoking dude on the smoking packets.
And Norm?
Show us, Rob.
Norm was from
Life Be In It. Yeah, encouraging people in the 70s to get up off the couch and go and exercise.
Nah, never.
And the ads ended with Beauty Nuke because he's watching the tennis. John Newcomb.
I don't know who that is.
Oh, who was Nuke? I should have asked that one.
You should have, yeah. Oh, well.
Listen, guys, it's almost time to go. It's been interesting. We've solved a lot of the world's problems, hopefully created even more. Next week, Kelsey's going to bamboozle the baby boomer and I'm in trouble.
You are in so much trouble.
Give me an example.
Massive issues.
What do young people use the word fire for?
If you're doing something good, you're on fire.
I know this one.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Maybe not all hope is lost.
Bamboozle the baby boomer. If you've got any suggestions for Kelsey, please let us know. lukebonaradioguy@gmail.com. And I am in big trouble. I'm very, very impressed, young girl.
Thank you.
Thomas, good to see you. Scotty Phillips, thank you for explaining inflation and interest rates. And Adam, thanks to you, the price of Lego is now sky high. We should have bought yesterday.
Remember, if you've got anything that you want to sell, you get me at adam@allbids.com.au. I'm also trying to put together a sports memorabilia sale. So anyone who's got sports memorabilia, anything at all, basketball, cricket, we're chasing a couple of Don Bradman bats. So get in contact with me at adam@allbids.com.au.
Scotty Phillips, the Motley Fool, who makes people money. Invest your money. Scotty will look after it. Motley Fool, how do we contact you?
Oh, mate, just jump on fool.com.au or look me up on all the socials, TMF Scott P is where you can find me on those. Looking forward to the capitalism discussion, Kelsey. Let's have an exciting episode on that one.
She can do her own.
The great capitalism debate.
You can open your own podcast with that one, and you can find it on bore.com.au.
Yeah, some people will like it.
And if you want to contact Thomas, any public toilet after midnight or any Centrelink office.
That is so rude. That is so rude. Give it back to him, Tom.
Oh, one of your best.
No, it's entertaining.
See you later, guys. Thank you. So thank you so much for having listened to what we hope is episode number 79, another Bonafide podcast. Done and dusted. Find us on Spotify, YouTube, wherever else. Share, like, in that order. And please send us your voice messages on 0291289311 and send us an email, lukebonaradioguy@gmail.com.
And Luke, do you actually have a thought of the day?
No, I think you've given me plenty, but there was a thought that I had the other day. In fact, I thought this when your mum and I got off the plane when we got back from holidays last time. You know what really, really pisses me off? The plane has just landed. The seatbelt sign's still on. You are slowly taxiing towards the docking station.
Yeah.
And everyone stands up and gets out their gear. And the plane hasn't even docked yet. Where are these people going? Why do people do that?
I don't know. I think it's just you're the first person in the queue, then you're the first one to get out.
They should let people leave the way they get people on, by rows. And they should just say, you stay where you are. Everyone sit down, or you get detention. Goodbye. And a quick reminder, Power B from Nature B, the full meal replacement. Power pollen, beautiful chocolate flavour. And if you spend over $79.90, and basically 2 intro packs for you and a friend, and then you're in the running to win a $20,000 bucket list travel experience of a lifetime. That competition ends Friday, January 30, so don't let it slip. Head to naturebee.com